have run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
My beauty.
my power,
My life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am
I am
tired,
tired,
tapped,
and tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name
is
is Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Attorney General Eric Holder out of office. Resigned yesterday. President accepts his resignation. Hello, everybody. Good to see you on a Friday. Woo! Friday, September 26th. Man, we finally got here, man. Man, this week, man, we're beating it out. I wasn't sure we were ever going to make it till Friday, but here we are. We made it. We made it. Our favorite day of the week, Friday, September 26th. Because we get to wrap up the week and move into the weekend, but we got a lot of work to go before we get there. Hello, hello, hello. Great to see you today. Thank you for joining us here. It is the Bill Press Show, booming out to you live, coast to coast on your local progressive talk radio station. You got us. We're there with you. We'll tell you what's going on here in Washington, D.C., around the country and around the globe. It's not just the resignation of Eric Holder, a lot of other news today. And we'll sit back and wait to hear from you. You can give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. You can send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Keep your comments coming. Keep the running commentary going all the way through the show. And, of course, if you don't have a progressive radio station near you, check out one of the radio apps, iHeartRadio. Take you to one of our great affiliates. The TuneIn app to the Progressive Voices channel, and there we are. And, of course, you can watch, not just listen, on Free Speech TV all across this great country of ours, and on TawkrTV, both here in the United States and worldwide, youtube.com/TawkrTV. So don't give me an excuse why you can't find us in the morning. I mean, what the hell? What more?
Quit your whining.
Yeah, what more can we do, right?
Next will be at your door.
That's it.
Yeah.
Home delivered.
Peter Ogburn and Lisa Murphy. Hello, guys.
Happy Friday.
Hey, happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Yep. Alicia Cruz there on the phones. Keep those phones ringing. 866-55-PRESS. Monty Kanzler has stepped in as our videographer of the day. Glad to have him with us to keep us looking good on Free Speech TV and on Talker TV. Well, we got through the night last night. Big doubleheader for the Nats. They had to make up an extra game because they weren't rained out. They just canceled thinking it was going to rain the night before, and they paid the price for it. They lost that makeup game.
They did. They sure did.
But then won the second game last night. They have another doubleheader tonight, and then a game Saturday and a game Sunday. But most of the baseball excitement, of course, last night was up in New York, where Derek Jeter played his last home game, and he ended it in style. Score is tied. Yankees up. Bottom of the ninth. Two men on. Derek Jeter steps up to the plate.
And the pitch is lined. Base hit. Right field. Here comes Richardson. Here comes Markakis' throw. It's going to be not in time. Richardson scores on a base hit by Derek Jeter. Is that unbelievable? Or is that unbelievable? Yankees win the ball game. Ball game over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
Great.
You couldn't have written that script.
It's amazing.
In heaven. I mean, that's
no, absolutely not. What's even more incredible?
What a way to go.
The game was supposed to be called off for rain. There was a major storm coming, and at best they were saying it was going to get like a 9 o'clock start for the rain to blow over. Miraculously, the rain parted. And here comes Jeter. Yeah. And the Yankees were so far ahead going into the ninth, Jeter wasn't supposed to get another at bat. The game was going to end. But they gave up 3 runs in the ninth, which meant that the Yankees got to bat again, which meant Jeter. This is the luckiest guy in the world.
Yeah. No,
it's a cool story.
Absolutely. It's a great moment, and it's a great way to end his career. I loved it last night. He said, if I could, we have that clip. He talked about. Everybody says, here's why he's retiring, because he's just getting old and creaky and his bones won't make it anymore, and everything. He said, no, that's not the real reason.
I'm not doing it because I don't think I can play anymore. I'm sure some of you in here have which you pointed out, don't think I can play anymore, but I still feel as though I could play. I just don't want to.
Okay.
All right.
New York style.
I've had enough. I've had enough of this crap.
He's still in great shape.
Yeah,
A lot of ball players.
He really
Oh,
is.
yes, he is.
Yeah, right.
They go down. They hit the wall hard. He
You're
still
right.
is in great shape.
Yeah, he is, and he just said, "No, he's tired of it."
Sure.
Step out. So there he goes. Yes, indeed. Eric Holder stepping down yesterday. It's been rumored for some time. We knew that. And let's take a look at Eric Holder's legacy, good and the bad. We'll do that. Susan Page will be joining us from USA Today, Washington Bureau Chief, a little bit later in the morning. John Nichols from The Nation magazine, back from Scotland, be joining us as well. And then we're going to talk about an issue that nobody talks about anymore and find out the latest on and some very exciting new ideas about how to deal with the problem of homelessness in America. But first,
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Bendgate, the Apple iPhone Plus Bendgate.
oh, yes.
Has another new development. Yesterday, Apple released a statement saying that if you use your iPhone Plus properly and you carry it in the proper way, then you will not have a problem bending your phone. The issue comes from people who have the iPhone Plus who say that it's too thin and too large, and the torque is creating a bend on the phone, so it's almost breaking. But Apple says they have only received, remember they sold 10 million phones, they have received 9 customer complaints. That's all they've received, and they say that those customers have been told that they were using the phones improperly, and they have no intention of giving any kind of refund or replacement or anything at this time.
All right, so Chris Christie is one of them.
Definitely. Definitely.
Who sat on their phone.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And Siri called 911.
Yeah. Domestic violence now in the NBA. The Charlotte Hornets have announced that their forward Jeff Taylor has been arrested on domestic assault charges. He's 25 years old. He was arrested at an East Lansing, Michigan Marriott. No real other details were given, and the Hornets say that they're trying to get more details to find out before they make the next decision. But clearly this is not just a problem in the NFL.
Right. Oh, well, man. I hope they give it a little more attention than the NFL did.
Here's hoping. And, we talked yesterday about the Fox News comments about the Miriam Al-Mansouri from the UAE, the first female pilot to drop bombs on ISIS. Fox News made some fun. They called it boobs on the ground. They also said maybe after she bombed, she couldn't park the plane. Said Greg
Oh, my
Gutfeld.
goodness.
You know who's not happy about this? Greta Van Susteren.
Good
Also
for her.
of Fox News. She tweeted out yesterday a link to the video and said, "Ouch, guys, don't you think that these gentlemen, minus Bob Beckel, should get a do-over on this story?" So she's not very happy about their comments either.
Yeah, good for Greta.
Yeah,
for
good
doing
for her.
that.
Dopey thing to say.
Absolutely dopey. I mean,
Just want to single out it was Eric Bowling
And-
and Greg Gutfeld who had the two comments.
who are the two? Right. Was that on the 5?
That was on the 5.
On the 5. Yep. Yes, indeed. President Obama coming back from New York yesterday, scheduling a last-minute personnel announcement. But before he even got there, we all knew what it was going to be. The Attorney General had told him some time back, actually, which had been leaked at the time, that he felt it was time to step down, that 6 years was kind of long enough. And yesterday they made it official. The Attorney General, alongside of the President, saying, first of all, he had to thank the members of his family.
My time in public service, which now comes to an end, would not have been possible without the sacrifices, too often unfair, made by the best 3 kids a father could ask for.
And the president, who considers Eric Holder, they have become good friends in the White House. The president, on behalf of the entire nation, thanking Eric Holder for his service.
We could not be more grateful for everything that you've done, not just for me and the administration, but for our country.
And the president saying it was a bittersweet moment, but that Holder has agreed to stay on until there's a new person in his spot.
This is bittersweet, but with his typical dedication, Eric has agreed to stay on as Attorney General until I nominate a successor, and that successor is confirmed by the Senate.
Notice the footnote there, which is extremely important. Not only till he nominates a successor, but till that successor is confirmed by the Senate, which is a message to the Senate. Okay, you don't like Holder?
Get something.
Get
it done.
He's going to be around unless you get off your ass and confirm my next appointment. I thought that was a good message to send. So it's a good moment. Look, Attorney General, the most powerful, certainly one of the most powerful positions in the cabinet. I guess the top three would be Attorney General, Defense, and State. Certainly, Eric Holder has been there longer than most of. Let me see. Is there anybody else who's still there longer than Holder?
It's a good question. I can't think of anybody.
I don't think so. Yeah, I think he is the longest serving of the original members of the cabinet. Not talking about White House staffers. Valerie Jarrett's been there from the beginning, but she's not a cabinet member. And everybody else has left. Kathleen Sebelius has left. Hillary has left. Leon Panetta has left. Robert Gates has left, so
I'm confirming that, by the way, right now.
I'm just thinking, going down the list. Hilda Solis is gone. Ray LaHood is gone, right? So Janet Napolitano.
Wasn't Tom Vilsack the original agriculture secretary?
Maybe.
I think so.
Yeah.
That might be the only one.
Maybe he might be the only one left, right?
He would be the only one.
Good man, but nowhere near the power that the Attorney General had. And the first African-American Attorney General ever. I'd have to say goes out with a mixed legacy. What about you, 866-55-PRESS? I've never been a real big fan of Eric Holder's because I think he's been much too and I'm speaking from the left here, not from the right. I think he's been much too timid in that job. Give him credit for what he has done. I mean, this is the Attorney General. He did refuse to defend the Defense of Marriage Act. And certainly that led to the overturning of the Defense of Marriage Act by the Supreme Court because the federal government was not there to defend it, and which has led to the ending discrimination against the LGBT community in the sense of same-sex marriage. It has made marriage equality now the law in 19 states and the District of Columbia, and will soon be the law in all 50 states. Good for Eric Holder in that bit. He's also the Attorney General who, when Colorado and Washington State said we want to legalize recreational marijuana, said we, the federal government, even though that's still against federal law, the use of pot, we will just look the other way and let states do what they believe is the right thing. He is an Attorney General who sued Texas for their very restrictive voting rights legislation. He's the Attorney General who went to Ferguson, Missouri, and said this is a federal matter. Michael Brown's civil rights were violated, it looks like, and we're going to have a complete investigation into that and the whole question of police profiling. All good things you have to give Eric Holder for. Where I've been disappointed where Eric Holder did not step up to the plate is on several things. One, George Bush, Dick Cheney, guilty of war crimes, absolutely no effort made to pursue them. John Conyers and others in Congress said at least we ought to have some hearings and investigation. The Justice Department ought to do an investigation. Eric Holder said, I'm not going to touch it. CIA, we know, practicing torture. It's against the law of the United States, against international law. Nothing done. All those people who were committing war crimes in the name of the United States, let off the hook, not pursued, none of them charged, prosecuted, imprisoned, or whatever. Same thing goes with Wall Street. People were selling phony securities, just about brought this nation down to its knees in terms of the worst recession since the Great Depression. And yet none of those Eric Holder went after none of those Wall Street executives, let them off the hook. Many of them are still on the job making more money than ever before. So I think that's one place where Eric Holder really let us down. I saw a comment this morning from a former Department of Justice spokesman who says, I think when people look back, he's going to be seen as the Attorney General who did more to expand justice in the United States than any Attorney General since Bobby Kennedy. No way. I mean, come on. I'm not saying Eric Holder is the worst that we've had, but he's certainly not up there in the league with Bobby Kennedy, who was a charger. You didn't see an Eric Holder standing or sending his top attorney general to stand in the doorways in Texas or in Georgia or any of these, Mississippi, these other states that tried these to pass, North Carolina, this very restrictive voting rights legislation. You didn't see Eric Holder down there standing in the doorway saying, no, you are not going to get away with this. No, I'm not going to allow this. I don't think he was out there aggressive and fighting enough as I expected to see from an Eric Holder. So a good man, but I think a less than great job as Attorney General. Let's put it that way. 866-55-PRESS. What's your take? Eric Holder, Attorney General, making it official, stepping down yesterday. Let's take a look at what kind of a job he's done right here on a Friday morning.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, what do you say? It's time to ask for your help again. And listen, I got to be honest with you. We really need you. We're more than halfway through this pledge drive so far, and we're just nowhere near where we need to be. I mean, that's just flat out. And, we depend on you. That's what community television is all about. Stephanie, Tom, myself, Amy, we bring you the news of the day, bring you our commentary. But we depend on you to keep it going and to keep Free Speech TV alive. Again, with community television, no government support, no Koch brothers support, no corporate support. The only way that we can bring you the fearless and the independent, totally bias-free television that you want and you depend on is with your help. So I just got to ask you to dig in as much as you can. I'm really concerned that we don't make it this pledge drive that could really impact what's happening with Free Speech TV. So let's just dig in. Let's make a goal together. I'd really like to see if we can't raise $2,000 today. I mean, $2,000 today. That's not a lot. If everybody does his or her share, we can make that and help you and maybe inspire you to make that contribution today. You've been so generous in the past. We just need your help again. For $120, just $10 a month, we'll send you a Bill Press Show mug and a cup of coffee to show our appreciation. $240, $20 a month, the mug and a cup and a pound of coffee and a French press to go with it. Don't need anything else for your morning coffee except me. And then for $360 or $30 a month, the mug, the coffee, the French press, and you participating in our Voices of the People campaign, where you and I will do a little telephone call, talk about the issues of the day. We'll put all the calls together and play that tape on the air as part of our Voices of the People. And for those of you who are blessed enough and able to do it and generous enough, if you can come up with $1,000 for Free Speech TV and then make your way to Washington, Carol and I will take you out to dinner. We'll have a good night here on Capitol Hill, one of our great restaurants on the Hill, and then you can come in and watch the show the next morning with us and join the team. So let's get to that $2,000 today. Please, we really need your help. We got to get this thing moving here. Telephone number, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669. Or you can go to our website at freespeech.org, freespeech.org. This is it. Just a couple of times a year we come to you for your help. And that's the only way, again, that we keep free speech going. So please be as generous as you can. We wouldn't be here without you. We just want to keep this great partnership going. We'll do our share. You'll do your share. Let's get to that $2,000 today. Need your help, and thank you.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
Things to do when you go. Visit discovertheforest.org.
Brought to you by U.S. Forest Service and This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go, 27 minutes after the hour. Eric Holder stepping down yesterday. The in the headline in The Hill this morning is that Holder leaves Wall Street critics unsatisfied, pointing out that Holder at one time, this is a point that I made too, told members of Congress that the reason he hadn't pursued criminal charges against any of the Wall Street executives was that might hurt the economy by suing them. And that set off the phrase, oh, these companies are too big to fail and the executives are too big to jail. Frank, what do you think of his tenure? Frank out in Bluff City, Kansas. Hello, Frank.
Hiya, Bill. I think it's terrible, actually, and I'm a progressive activist and have been for 50 years. I think he's been the worst attorney general in the last 50 years, except for Meese and Mitchell and Gonzalez. He's just done an awful job, especially treating whistleblowers, his appointments with the BOP and the United U.S. Marshal Service, people like Harley Lappin, who he retained, and Stacey Hilton, who he promoted. These people are disgraceful. They've written hundreds of millions of dollars in private prison contracts that never should have been written. They were unnecessary, and nobody is holding Holder's feet to the fire on that.
Yeah.
In addition, his prosecution.
Hey, Frank, I got to jump in because we're running out of time, but I have to ask you: are you going to vote for Greg Orman?
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you going to vote for Greg Orman?
I'm working on his campaign. He'd be a great improvement over Pat Roberts.
Yeah. All right. I just had to get that in. And by the way, your point, you're even tougher on Eric Holder than I am, but excellent points. So good to hear from you out in Kansas. More calls coming up about Eric Holder.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, they expected tens of thousands. How exciting it was to see hundreds of thousands of people turn out in New York City to demand action on climate change from the world's leaders meeting in New York to discuss climate change and to consider taking action. And all these people came together from all over the world to say, we demand action. It's the most serious threat facing our planet. And you've got to stop talking about it and do something about it. That's the kind of partnership that is needed to get some action on climate change. And watching those huge crowds, I'm just sorry I wasn't there myself. And I was thinking that's the kind of partnership that we have every day right here on Free Speech TV, because this is a real partnership. You know, we, Stephanie and Tom and Amy and I and all the rest, we bring you the news of the day. We bring you up to date on all the issues that you really care about. And then we open up and give you a chance to tell us what it all means to you. That is a real partnership. And we're a partnership, of course, in another way, too, that your generous support is what keeps us on the air doing our job, what enables us to get together every day. I mean, Free Speech TV is unlike any other cable TV channel. You know that. Free Speech TV is free and independent and fearless. We can be that for one reason only, because we have no corporate funding, no government funding. We depend on you and your generosity to keep us on the air, and you've been so good to us so far. Well, now it's that time again to ask you to dig in again and to keep us going, keep this partnership alive and strong. We ask you again for your support in any way you can, as generous as you can, and of course, to maybe give you a little incentive to do so, we offer you some special gifts. Very excited about the gifts for this pledge drive. For $120 a year, or just $10 a month, we'll send you a Bill Press Show mug and a pound of coffee, special coffee, for $240 a year or $20 a month. You get the mug and a pound of coffee and a French press to go with it. There's a whole bag of tricks that you need. Get that morning cup of coffee. We'll even make it better for $360 a year or $30 a month. Very, very special. You get the mug and the coffee and the French press. And then you'll be invited to have a 5-minute telephone conversation with me on any issue or issues you want to talk about. We will blend them all together like a good cup of coffee and play that collection of phone calls on the air as part of our Voices of the People project. And if you can help us with $1,000, you get yourselves to Washington, and Carol and I will take you out to dinner, bring you into the studio, and we'll have a great time together. Give us a call today at 1-877-378-8669 and make your pledge, or go to freespeech.org. Again, please be as generous as you can, and thank you for keeping our partnership alive and strong.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I probably would make a time machine.
I would make medicine for the sick.
I'd probably invent something new.
我会赢到5个总冠军戒指。
If I could have an extra 5 years to live.
You said 5, right?
5 years. It's a long time.
I would try to fix everything I did bad.
I would bring my uncle back because I miss him very much.
I would get more hamsters.
I would probably want to go looking for dark matter.
I think I'd go looking for aliens.
If I could live an extra 5 years. I was thinking about making like a helicopter, like a wooden helicopter, but I don't have any wood.
I want to go check out the moon sometime.
I'd probably teach my sister not to hate tuna.
I would try and invent a machine that lets you run at light speed. If I had 5 more extra years to live, I would be the boss of all the chipmunks.
Eu cantaria na frente de 1 milhão de pessoas.
I don't really know. I think I'd do anything. Why are you asking me that?
On this Friday, September 22nd, Susan Page, Washington Bureau Chief for USA Today, joins us. In our next segment, right now, we are assessing the legacy of Eric Holder. Of course, the Republicans have been dumping on him from the beginning simply because he's Obama's guy, right? Yeah. I saw the Fox News this morning said, Eric Holder resigns amid a trail of scandal. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, the guy is absolutely clean, totally without scandal.
What scandal?
What scandal? No charges in the Justice Department or whatever. They're still upset over the Fast and Furious campaign, where the problem with Fast and Furious, there were a couple of U.S. agents who were killed by guns that had gone south as part of a Justice Department operation. But the problem is that they're selling the assault weapons in Texas openly, legally, and they're the guns that are going south across the border and ending up in the drug cartels and being used to kill thousands of people in Mexico and some U.S. drug agents. The Justice Department was trying to stop that, and the president has tried to stop that sale of these assault weapons. That's the answer, which Republicans, of course, want nothing to do with. Mm-hmm. Instead, They really made a great big deal, tried to make a big scandal out of Fast and Furious with Eric Holder. So you could almost forget their criticism. It's expected. I'm just saying from a progressive, from a liberal point of view, I don't think Eric Holder was tough enough on Wall Street criminals. He was not tough enough on the CIA war criminals, and not tough enough even areas where he spoke out on voting rights and on racial profiling. I don't think he was aggressive enough and out in front enough on those issues. Peter, comments? Before we go to your calls at 866-55-PRESS, I see your calls will be there.
We are on Twitter as well, at BP Show, at BP Show. Bill, believe it or not everybody agrees with you.
No, not
I hate
again.
to be the one to tell you this, but yeah, not everybody agrees with you.
I want everybody to agree with you.
Tony Speak would like to point out that Eric Holder set all-time records for Wall Street banker crime fines.
Fines, yes.
Right, exactly.
But nobody
Money doesn't
went.
really matter to
Even
those guys.
Elizabeth Warren, and can't get any more liberal, and Richard Shelby can't get any more conservative or dumber than he is, right? But both of them have came out and said that Eric Holder should have pursued some of these executives who knowingly were selling fraudulent securities. We know that. Not one of them was touched by the law. Not one. Too big to jail.
We also have a comment from Phil who says, maybe Eric Holder didn't do everything we wanted, but the Department of Justice was a smoking ruin when he took office. At least he restored some credibility to
I will give him that credit.
There is that.
I mean, after Alberto Gonzalez and then the other guy, I forget his name, who followed Gonzalez, bad news. Terry in Annapolis, Maryland. Hi, Terry.
Hi. I think that Eric did a great job.
There
were some things that he didn't get done, but given the department that he inherited and the footing that it's on now, given the congressional environment that he was working in and the Supreme Court that he's dealing with, I think he did a really good job. You have to pick your battles. He's done a lot for civil rights. You say he wasn't out front enough. But as a black man in this country and trying to represent the whole country, I think he did a good job. He won a number of cases before they changed the law again, and he has put them on footing to be able to address some of those things under the current laws that are remaining.
Yeah, fair enough, Terry. Well said, well spoken, and certainly there are a lot of people, but people that I admire very, very much. John Lewis, Al Sharpton. I saw other comments yesterday, really praising Eric Holder, like Terry did, to the skies for being the most out front person on civil rights since Bobby Kennedy. I didn't see it. I mean, I know that's what he believes in. I know he did bring some good cases. I don't think he was the charger and the fighter that we saw. And by the way, we know the Kennedy's history. They didn't start out being champions of civil rights. In fact,
Right.
they didn't want anything to do with it. They even tried to stop the March on Washington at one point. But they came around and really showed, I think, the power of the Justice Department under Bobby Kennedy. Kevin is in Chicago. Hello, Kevin.
Hey, good morning, Bill. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, hey, that's great. Hey, it's all about the money. I mean, on the social issues, he did good. He could have done a little bit more on the voter suppression stuff. Really come down with a hammer against the states that have tried to, re-implement that. But I mean, on the banking deal, it's crazy. It's all about the money. He would have went after Wall Street. That cash to the Democrats would have dried up. We have to accept the fact that we have corporate Democrats that are relying on that money. And you know what? Well, grassroots fundraising does a good job. We couldn't match it if it all went to the Republicans. And that's bottom line. It's all about the money. So.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you, Kevin. There's no doubt about it. I mean, those guys that we're talking about, they have a lot of financial clout in the political system over, by the way, members of both parties. Mm-hmm. And if you look at Democrats, especially Democrats from New York, they get as much, if not more money from Wall Street as Republicans do. And I'm sure that influence, the priorities, shall we put it, of the Justice Department. Hey, before we move along, just one related thing to this. I did mention, I think one of the great things that Eric Holder did do was to go out to Ferguson. Now, frankly, again, I think he should have been more visible, more upfront on racial profiling because it didn't start in Ferguson, Missouri. I think he should have been more upfront on that issue from the very, very beginning of his tenure as Attorney General. But he did go out to Ferguson. He did say this is an issue perhaps of murder. The local justices, local legal system is pursuing that. But under the Justice Department, he said, we're going to open up an investigation into whether or not Michael Brown's civil rights were violated and take a look at that. One person we haven't heard from since this whole thing started, really, was the police chief of Ferguson, Missouri, the white police chief of Ferguson, Missouri, who had a force of, 53 people, of whom 3 officers were African-American in a city, as I recall, that's about 68 or 70% African-American. Yesterday, finally, the police chief of Ferguson, Missouri, spoke out and apologized to Michael Brown's family.
I want to say this to the Brown family. No one who has not experienced the loss of a child can understand what you're feeling. I'm truly sorry for the loss of your son. He
also went on to say one thing he was particularly sorry for was the fact that Michael Brown's body lay in the street for some 4 hours.
I'm also sorry that it took so long to remove Michael from the street.
And he did explain, I thought they were all one clip, but he went on to explain why it took so long.
The time that it took involved very important work on the part of investigators who were trying to collect evidence and gain a true picture of what happened that day. But it was just too long, and I'm truly sorry for that.
Well, good for him, but what the hell took so long?
Finally.
I mean, what's it been, 2 months? I don't know, right? At least.
It's been 6 weeks.
6? Yeah. Okay.
6 weeks.
I thought it was longer, but at any rate.
Almost 2 months, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, where was he and what was going on? What was going through his head while they did all of this stuff, right? Yeah.
And why now?
Yeah.
What has come to light now that he feels like now it's okay to apologize? What, the people have kind of forgotten about it?
You know what my take on that would be? Cynic that I am. He's up for re-election.
Yeah.
And maybe he's heard news that there's somebody a lot better who's going to run against him for police chief out there. I don't know. Or the city council may have said, hey, dude, you're out of here unless you do something, to satisfy your critics. All right. Tom Jackson, police chief of Ferguson. Susan Page is the Washington bureau chief for USA Today. On the news of the day, we got her take on Eric Holder and the president's big week up at the United Nations. Coming back here on the Bill Press Show. Lots happening on a Friday. Hey, friends, what do you say? It's time to ask for your help again. And listen, I got to be honest with you. We really need you. We're more than halfway through this pledge drive so far, and we're just nowhere near where we need to be. I mean, that's just flat out. And, we depend on you. That's what community television is all about. Stephanie, Tom, myself, Amy, we bring you the news of the day, bring you our commentary. But we depend on you to keep it going and to keep Free Speech TV alive. Again, with community television, no government support, no Koch brothers support, no corporate support. The only way that we can bring you the fearless and the independent, totally bias-free television that you want and you depend on is with your help. So I just got to ask you to dig in as much as you can. I'm really concerned that we don't make it this pledge drive that could really impact what's happening with Free Speech TV. So let's just dig in. Let's make a goal together. I'd really like to see if we can't raise $2,000 today. I mean, $2,000 today. That's not a lot. If everybody does his or her share, we can make that and help you and maybe inspire you to make that contribution today. You've been so generous in the past. We just need your help again. For $120, just $10 a month, we'll send you a Bill Press Show mug and a cup of coffee to show our appreciation. $240, $20 a month, the mug and a cup and a pound of coffee and a French press to go with it. Don't need anything else for your morning coffee except me. And then for $360 or $30 a month, the mug, the coffee, the French press, and you participating in our Voices of the People campaign, where you and I will do a little telephone call, talk about the issues of the day. We'll put all the calls together and play that tape on the air as part of our Voices of the People. And for those of you who are blessed enough and able to do it and generous enough, if you can come up with $1,000 for Free Speech TV and then make your way to Washington, Carol and I will take you out to dinner. We'll have a good night here on Capitol Hill, one of our great restaurants on the Hill, and then you can come in and watch the show the next morning with us and join the team. So let's get to that $2,000 today. Please, we really need your help. We got to get this thing moving here. Telephone number, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, or you can go to our website at freespeech.org, freespeech.org. This is it. Just a couple of times a year we come to you for your help, and that's the only way, again, that we keep free speech going. So please be as generous as you can. We wouldn't be here without you. We just want to keep this great partnership going. We'll do our share. You'll do your share. Let's get to that $2,000 today. Need your help, and thank you.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
13 minutes before the top of the hour. Congress may be out of town, but it's been a busy week for President Obama, both here in Washington and up in New York City. Lots and lots to talk about and write about and report on. Let's wrap it up before we go into the weekend with our good friend Susan Page, Washington Bureau Chief for USA Today, who's on top of it all. Hello, Susan.
Good morning, Bill.
How about it? The president coming back yesterday to say goodbye to Eric Holder. How are we going to look back on his term as Attorney General?
I think that there's a lot to admire about Eric Holder's tenure, including his work on civil rights, on prison reform, on restoring voting rights to felons, on talking about race, but I think also a mixed record when it comes to some civil liberties, including, importantly to us, the treatment of journalists in some of these leaks investigations that the Justice Department has pursued so fiercely.
Yeah, they really have. I mean, have been a bear, right, on going after sources.
More investigation into leaks than all previous administrations combined, more criminal investigations, and still the threat of prison over James Risen, the New York Times reporter, because he's refusing to disclose his sources for a story he wrote about Iran. So a lot to admire, but it's interesting to see the division between civil rights groups and civil liberties groups. Often they work hand in hand, but they have very different views of what Eric Holder has done. That's a very interesting point. And also, a lot of people, myself included, disappointed that he wasn't more aggressive going after some of the Wall Street executives. Right? He coined that. He didn't coin it, but people coined the phrase "too big to jail." That's right. Not a single prosecution of a banker in the wake of the practices that brought our economy down and hurt so many millions of people's lives. Yeah. And, by the way, we went to war this week in Syria, right? It seems so long ago, and it's almost disappeared from the radar. This is it's going to be back because we're going to be engaged in this action. Analysts think for the next several years that this is a war that is likely to outlast President Obama's time in office, and, man, not the legacy he wanted to leave. No, indeed. And it's interesting, I thought, the way it happened. I was talking to our colleague David Jackson, right? He and I were both at the briefing Monday. There was no indication that airstrikes were about to begin against Syria that night. It was all talk about what the president was going to be talking about in New York.
And it's almost like they stepped on their own story right before he even got on the helicopter to New York. He had to announce, oh, by the way, we started bombing Syria last night.
One of the things that struck me about this week was the range of big challenges that we face, because we had the president talking about ISIS and that threat, that terrorist threat. Then a big speech yesterday on Ebola, also a huge threat. I mean, it's really a dangerous world.
And in between, climate change.
Climate change, absolutely, which, with the benefit of hindsight, may turn out to be the biggest story of all.
And remember that place called the Ukraine? The president mentioned that this week, too, in New York. So you're right. I thought he was pretty adept this week at juggling all of these challenges in front of the proper audience and different audiences in New York. It was all part of the agenda.
But it's interesting. Each big speech would get overwhelmed by the next enormous event. So I'm not. It seems like each of these things deserved more debate and commentary and scrutiny than we were able to give it.
Right. Now, I know you have a big, you've been in Arizona, a big interview coming up this weekend. Tell us about it,
yes.
As much as you can. I know it's embargoed for now, but...
I spent a day with Gabby Giffords and Mark Kelly at their home in Tucson, Arizona, for a story that we'll post online Sunday that talks about how she's doing, how she's recovering from that assassination attempt, what they're doing now, which is working on gun control issues, and what kind of futures they envision for themselves. So it was a terrific opportunity. I was really glad to be able to do that.
Every time I go to New York, Times Square, there's this big billboard, with Gabby Giffords and Mark Kelly on the about their foundation or whatever organization is that they began on gun control. Can you tell us at least, are they hopeful that they're making any progress and that the American people still support some sensible gun safety regulations?
I think they're hopeful but realistic. Two smart people who know a lot about politics, and they know this is not a cause that you adopt, win, and move on. It's an effort that's going to take a lot of time, a lot of money, and a continuing commitment.
Is she done with politics, do you think?
So, what I would say? I would say you should be reading the USA Today
all right.
to find the answer to that question and others.
When's the story pop up?
It's going to be posted online Sunday, and it'll be in Monday's print edition.
Okay, all right. Sunday, USA Today. We have to go there every day, but there's a special reason for going this Sunday. Got it?
Yes.
Right?
Great,
right.
Thanks.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you so much. Go into the weekend. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Bill.
All right, see you. Susan Page, Washington Bureau Chief, USA Today.
This.
Hey, friends, what do you say? It's time to ask for your help again. And listen, I got to be honest with you. We really need you. We're more than halfway through this pledge drive so far. And we're just nowhere near where we need to be. I mean, that's just flat out. And, we depend on you. That's what community television is all about. Stephanie, Tom, myself, Amy, we bring you the news of the day, bring you our commentary. But we depend on you to keep it going and to keep Free Speech TV alive. Again, with community television, no government support, no Koch brothers support, no corporate support. The only way that we can bring you the fearless and the independent, totally bias-free television that you want and you depend on is with your help. So I just got to ask you to dig in as much as you can. Really concerned that we don't make it this pledge drive that could really impact what's happening with Free Speech TV. So, let's just dig in. Let's make a goal together. I'd really like to see if we can't raise $2,000 today. I mean, $2,000 today, that's not a lot. If everybody does his or her share, we can make that and help you and maybe inspire you to make that contribution today. You've been so generous in the past. We just need your help again. For $120, just $10 a month, we'll send you a Bill Press Show mug and a cup of coffee to show our appreciation. $240, $20 a month. The mug and a cup and a pound of coffee and a French press to go with it. Don't need anything else for your morning coffee except me. And then for $360 or $30 a month, the mug, the coffee, the French press, and you participating in our Voices of the People campaign, where you and I will do a little telephone call, talk about the issues of the day. We'll put all the calls together and play that tape on the air as part of our Voices of the People. And for those of you who are blessed enough and able to do it and generous enough, if you can come up with $1,000 for Free Speech TV and then make your way to Washington, Carol and I will take you out to dinner. We'll have a good night here on Capitol Hill, one of our great restaurants on the Hill, and then you can come in and watch the show the next morning with us and join the team. So let's get to that $2,000 today. Please, we really need your help. We got to get this thing moving here. Telephone number, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, or you can go to our website at freespeech.org, freespeech.org. This is it. Just a couple of times a year we come to you for your help, and that's the only way, again, that we keep free speech going. So please be as generous as you can. We wouldn't be here without you. We just want to keep this great partnership going. We'll do our share. You'll do your share. Let's get to that $2,000 today. Need your help, and thank you.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
In the next hour, Steve Shepard, campaigns and elections editor for Politico, here with us in studio. We'll also talk to John Nichols from The Nation. Peter?
Bill, the Pacific Remote Islands Marine National Monument was created by George W. Bush in 2009. It was a good move. It protects some of the area there. Yesterday, kind of quietly, President Obama used a presidential proclamation to increase that by a lot.
Huge.
He expanded it to almost 500,000 miles. That is 6 times its current size. It is larger than the state of California. Fishing, undersea mining, and other commercial activity will be banned in those protected areas. So it's a huge, huge environmental step there for the president.
Right. I saw the article this morning that he has protected more areas now of federal land and sea than any other president in at least 50 years.
How about that?
But again, they did it yesterday, just sort of.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, we sort of did this today.
Just quietly
the president
put it out there.
signed this today, right?
Yeah.
What I don't know is, I guess we do. We must have jurisdiction over these waters. They're around Hawaii, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And so the territorial waters of the United States go out that far?
I guess so. Hey, we own a lot of stuff, man.
Somebody tell the fish. This is where to head.
Yeah, right.
If you want to, stay safe.
Let's go here.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, friends, what do you say? It's time to ask for your help again. And listen, I got to be honest with you. We really need you. We're more than halfway through this pledge drive so far, and we're just nowhere near where we need to be. I mean, that's just flat out. And, you know, we depend on you. That's what community television is all about, you know, Stephanie, Tom, myself, Amy, we bring you the news of the day, bring you our commentary. But we depend on you to keep it going and to keep Free Speech TV alive. Again, with community television, no government support, no Koch brothers support, no corporate support. The only way that we can bring you the fearless and the independent, totally bias-free television that you want and you depend on is with your help. So I just got to ask you to dig in as much as you can. I'm really concerned that we don't make it this pledge drive that could really impact what's happening with Free Speech TV. So let's just dig in. Let's make a goal together. I'd really like to see if we can't raise $2,000 today. I mean, $2,000 today. That's not a lot. If everybody does his or her share, we can make that and help you and maybe inspire you to make that contribution today. You've been so generous in the past. We just need your help again. For $120, just $10 a month, we'll send you a Bill Press Show mug and a cup of coffee to show our appreciation. $240, $20 a month, the mug and a cup and a pound of coffee and a French press to go with it. Don't need anything else for your morning coffee except me. And then for $360 or $30 a month, the mug, the coffee, the French press, and you participating in our Voices of the People campaign, where you and I will do a little telephone call, talk about the issues of the day. We'll put all the calls together and play that tape on the air as part of our Voices of the People. And for those of you who are blessed enough and able to do it and generous enough, if you can come up with $1,000 for Free Speech TV and then make your way to Washington, Carol and I will take you out to dinner. We'll have a good night here on Capitol Hill, one of our great restaurants on the Hill, and then you can come in and watch the show the next morning with us and join the team. So let's get to that $2,000 today. Please, we really need your help. We got to get this thing moving here. Telephone number, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, or you can go to our website at freespeech.org, freespeech.org. This is it. Just a couple of times a year we come to you for your help. And that's the only way, again, that we keep free speech going. So please be as generous as you can. We wouldn't be here without you. We just want to keep this great partnership going. We'll do our share. You'll do your share. Let's get to that $2,000 today. Need your help, and thank you.
When I started learning about nutrition, about which, by the way, much less is known than you might think, I learned that what mattered most about one's health was not necessarily the nutrients, good or bad, that you were consuming or staying away from, or even the calorie counts. But what predicted a healthy diet more than anything else is the fact that it was being cooked by a human being and not a corporation. Corporations cook very differently than people do. They use vast amounts of salt, fat, and sugar, much more than you would ever use in your own cooking. And the reason they do that is those are three incredibly attractive and incredibly cheap ingredients. And when they're layered properly, as in a chip or pastries and forms of junk food, they're incredibly addictive. They really press our buttons. They activate our dopamine network, our cravings. And in fact, people in the industry, they don't talk about addiction in the food industry, even though they traffic in addiction. They talk about craveability. It's the same thing. And snackability is another term they use. It's a lovely word. And then the last point about corporate cooking that's important to understand is they cook different stuff than you do at home. What they're good at, in general, they don't cook that well, but things like chips, they cook incredibly well. And here's a classic food that if you make it yourself, if you've ever made French fries, you have to wash the potatoes, you have to peel the potatoes, you have to slice the potatoes, you have to fry them in a lot of oil, you have to spatter your entire stovetop, you have to clean up, and then you have this pot of oil you have to get rid of. I mean, it's really difficult, and it's a pain. They're wonderful, but it's a pain. And if you make them yourself, you'll only eat them every 6 weeks, 2 months, because it's too much work. But when you let corporations cook for you, it's so simple and so inexpensive, and they're really good, that you will have them twice a day, as many people in America do. So you see the kinds of foods you end up with are these labor-intensive foods and desserts. These special occasion foods become everyday foods when we let industry cook for us. Eat anything you want, just cook it yourself.
Two anti-government, self-described revolutionaries have shot up a pizza restaurant as well as a Walmart in Las Vegas.
The internationally syndicated political series, The David Pakman Show, provides progressive talk, analysis, and interviews with the nation's youngest radio and television host, David Pakman. Find out more and catch up on all the latest episodes by visiting our website at freespeech.org.
and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Eric Holder steps down. President Obama accepting his resignation yesterday. He'll stay on the job until the Senate confirms his successor. Hey, hello, everybody. What do you say? It is Friday. So good to see you, and so good to see Friday roll around. Friday, September 26th. It's the Bill Press Show. We are here in our nation's capital. And our studio on Capitol Hill bringing you the news of the day, such as it is from Washington, D.C. Actually, there's a lot going on around the country and around the globe. We'll bring you up to date, and you tell us what it all means to you. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. We got the whole team here assembled today. Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy.
Happy Friday.
Hello, guys. Yes, yeah, indeed. Alicia Cruz here on the phones, keeping your calls and your comments on the air, again at 866-55-PRESS. And I understand we are double-teamed now on our videographer department.
Cyprian is here.
Cyprian
has shown up.
Okay. So, Monty Chancellor came in a little earlier. Cyprian Bolding is here. So, well, you know, when you have Free Speech TV and TawkrTV, it's a two-man job.
It takes a village.
It takes a village, that's right. And to help us through some of the politics of the day, very pleased to welcome to studio the editor for campaigns and elections at Politico, Steve Shepard. Busy season for you, Steve, so it's nice for you to take some time with us this morning.
Thanks for having me. No, glad to be here.
Mike Allen, your colleague, reports today 39 days until the midterms.
But who's counting?
The countdown, right? Yeah. That's what we need, one of those.
Yeah.
Does CNN have their countdown clock?
Not yet.
They still have the clock up for the Malaysian Airlines plane.
Yeah. How many days has it been?
How many days before we find the plane?
Should be running that.
Right. So all the talk, I go to the White House briefings every day, all the talk about the big, just a week ago today, the jumper, right, at the fence, and still talks about what they're going to do to beef up White House security and protect the president. David Letterman came up with, I think, the perfect answer last night.
And then security is so tight now, here's what they've done. They've asked members of Congress to circle the White House because that way nothing will get passed. That's what's going to happen.
A long walk for a short beer, as they say on that radio. Certainly nothing will get done. Nothing will get by for sure, yes. Again, Steve Shepard here. We'll talk politics, the important governors and Senate races in the midterms here in the first half hour. John Nichols, senior Washington correspondent for The Nation, will be joining us a little bit later. In the next hour, we're going to take a look at some exciting new approaches to dealing, and proved quite successful so far in dealing with the problem of homelessness in this nation, which most people don't talk about anymore. But first, Peter, what do you got?
It's the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. You know, Kevin Durant is the reigning NBA MVP. He also likes to play video games. So he plays NBA 2K15, the video game, but he doesn't want to play as himself. He said when he was on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, he finds that to be a little arrogant because he doesn't want to play as himself. You know, you can play as any basketball player playing in the NBA. So Fallon, of course, asked him, who do you play as? He admitted he always plays as LeBron James.
Oh, no. Is that?
Yeah, an endorsement there for LeBron James from the reigning MVP, Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
If you live close to a Jack in the Box, you have a new way to absolutely destroy your body. They announced they are releasing a chicken tater melt. It is a carb-on-carb situation. It's a sandwich with a fried chicken patty, 2 hash browns, topped with ranch dressing, 3 different types of cheese, bacon, and it's going to be on a croissant. Buttered, of course. So it's a croissant with ranch dressing, 3 kinds of cheese, bacon, fried chicken, and then 2 hash browns. Hash browns on a croissant. Just think about that.
At the Eastern Market up the street, they have a breakfast sandwich called the Brick.
Yeah. You know of the Brick?
I do.
Yes, right,
Yeah.
right.
Yes, indeed.
It reminded me of the Brick, but the Brick is really good.
Even the Brick doesn't go this far.
No, Brick doesn't go
we're
that
talking about
far.
ranch dressing.
No, there's no ranch dressing.
Fried chicken on
But
it.
the Brick has an egg and a piece of meat and a slice of potato.
And cheese. You can put cheese on there.
And yeah, right. And that's about it on a great roll.
It's like a good bacon, egg, and cheese.
But
with
you
a
eat
potato
that.
on it.
You eat that Brick, as you know, Steve. You don't need anything for the
Yeah,
rest.
no, the name it has that name for a reason. It's how you feel afterwards. Yeah,
Yeah, right. When you finish it, you just sit there. You can't move.
In Kansas, they have a $300 million revenue shortfall. A lot of this has to do with Sam Brownback, the governor, with all of his tax cuts
taxes
and
so
spending
much
cuts and all this stuff. Well, so you have to make some of that up. The Topeka Capital Journal first reported on Wednesday that they found a way to make up some of that revenue. They're having an auction on sex toys. Kansas raided...
Wait, Sam Brownback is selling sex toys?
Sam Brownback is selling sex toys. I mean, yeah, that's exactly what's happening. They had raided 5 different shops in 4 different cities from a guy who was selling sex toys illegally, and so instead of just keeping those hidden away, they're going to auction. They've already begun auctioning them off. So you could buy such items as the Pipe Dream Fantasy Love Swing. You could buy books, hundreds of DVDs, sex and drinking games, all kinds of sexually oriented equipment. I'm not sure what exactly that would be. They have a glass pleasure wand you could buy, bundles of lingerie, and a cyber skin foot stroker, if that's your kink. Now, let's not forget... Sam Brownback is also in the middle of criticizing his challenger, Paul Davis, because he went to a strip club.
Yeah.
But Sam Brownback is actively selling sex toys.
I love it.
You need a good rate on some secondhand sex toys.
Yeah.
Go to Kansas.
Sam Brownback. I may have destroyed Kansas public schools, but I'm selling sex toys, huh? Yeah.
Folks, I would suggest if you're going to buy a sex toy, buy it brand new. I wouldn't skimp on a sex toy, okay? Make sure you got the packaging all intact before you open it.
All right. Peter, thank you for that enlightened newscast there. Sure, yeah. But let's talk about Kansas, Steve, because, this... Well, first, I have to ask you... I want to talk about the Senate first. And the overall question is, we heard... For all year long, we've heard this talk, the Republican wave, right? It's in the cards, Republicans. There's no way they cannot gain control of the Senate this year because of the Republican wave. Do you see the wave? And where is it?
The answer is not really yet. These races the one thing I will say, these races all frequently will look as toss-ups as you get down the stretch, and then they tend to go in one direction more than split evenly on Election Day. So, it might be the kind of thing that we don't see until the very end. That said, you mentioned Kansas, and this is a race that disrupts sort of the calculus for Republicans.
Because nobody thought that we'd be fighting over Kansas, right?
And they thought we need 6 seats to win the Senate. We are potentially vulnerable in Georgia and Kentucky, but that's it as far as the seats that we hold going in. And now, there's one more that we need to talk about, and that's Kansas.
And they have to put money and resources into.
That's right. The NRSC is trying to bail out Pat Roberts, who has not run a good campaign either in the primary and then did very, very little for about a month after the primary. didn't really show up in Kansas, didn't go out and actively raise money, didn't stay on the air. His favorables got beaten up very badly during that primary with Milton Wolf. And, he didn't do anything to shore himself up ahead of the general election, what was then a three-way race and is now a two-way race with a seemingly viable independent candidate.
And Greg Orman, who's the independent candidate, the inevitable question everybody asks him, are you going to, if you were elected, would you caucus with the Republicans or the Democrats? People do want to know that before they vote for him. Will they?
That's right. It does not seem they will. Now, my colleagues at Politico reported late last night or early this morning that Greg Orman is going to meet with Milton Wolf, Pat Roberts' primary challenger, today. Milton Wolf has not endorsed Pat Roberts since the primary, is considering endorsing Greg Orman, but wants a guarantee from Greg Orman that he'll caucus with Republicans if he's elected. A lot of risks for Greg Orman in that. One of the things he's played up in his candidacy is his independence and the fact that he's going to use his power, if elected, to potentially, if it comes down to Kansas and Republicans have 50 seats and Democrats have 49 seats and a potential tiebreaker if they can get to 50 with Vice President Biden, that he could try to extract concessions from both parties and swing the majority, along with potentially Maine Senator Angus King.
I heard it. He's probably half the age of Pat Roberts, isn't he?
Yeah, Greg Orman is very young. Pat Roberts is in his late 70s.
Yeah. I heard him. I saw him last night on the CBS Evening News, and Greg Orman was asked that question, and he said, in terms of which party he would caucus with, and his answer was, "What's best for Kansas is that I caucus with the party that's in the majority. So if the Democrats have it, then I'll get more by caucusing with the Democrats. If the Republicans have control, I'll get more by caucusing with them." I thought it's a pretty smart answer.
Yeah. And Angus King from Maine said something very similar when he was elected last cycle in 2012. Yes. And look, this could end up being, you could see both switch around. Republicans still probably roughly 50%, maybe 60% to win the Senate, even with Kansas right now. You could see Orman and potentially even King, who's caucusing with Democrats now, swing to Republicans after 2014. Right. But all those Republican seats that they won in 2010 in states like Illinois and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and New Hampshire that are going to be tough to, and North Carolina that are going to be tough to defend in 2016, if Democrats win back the majority, you could see people like Orman and King then switch back to Democrats. It could be pretty topsy-turvy.
Now, while we're in Kansas and while we're talking about the sex toy salesman Sam Brownback, nobody expected him to be in a tight race, and that's certainly not helping Pat Roberts. That he's in a run for his life.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Democrats and Democratic-leaning independents are a minority in Kansas. But to the extent that they're ready to turn out and vote, they are very excited about defeating Sam Brownback. They see not just the fact that he replaced 2 terms of Democratic governor, Kathleen Sebelius, and then her lieutenant governor who took over after she became Health and Human Services Secretary, but also that he's forced out a lot of moderate Republicans in the state legislature, particularly in the state Senate, after 2012.
He went after them, right? He tried to purge the party.
Yes. Yeah. People who'd held up his conservative agenda in Topeka. He went after them, knocked a lot of them out in primaries, and now there are moderate Republicans and all those Democrats and independents. Again, there aren't that many. It's Kansas still. Kansas has not elected a Republican senator, Democratic senator, rather, for example, since 1932. So it's a very tough state for Democrats, but they're really excited, and that poses a risk for Greg Orman in the Senate race, because if he comes out and says, I'm going to caucus with Republicans in order to win the 40% of Republican primary voters who voted for Milton Wolf, and the 51% who voted for someone other than Pat Roberts, he could depress the enthusiasm that those Democrats and independents have for voting out Roberts in addition to Brownback.
Everybody assumed, a lot of people assumed coming in, that North Carolina was lost for Democrats. They've got the Tea Party legislature, Tea Party governor, the head of the assembly, Tom Tillis, takes on Kay Hagan, and yet Kay Hagan's holding her own. It looks like
she is. This is a race that I think Republicans thought would be
in the bag, huh?
Yeah, in the bag, or at least trending better for them right now. Looking at sort of end of September than it is. Tom Tillis hasn't run a particularly good campaign. He hasn't raised money to the degree that people thought he would. That he did manage to win his primary outright and avoid a potentially costly runoff. But since then, it's been kind of a struggle. And Kay Hagan's big issue has been education. And you talked about the Tea Party legislature. This is a legislature after 2010 that swung to Republicans. They, in 2012, elected a Republican governor, voting out the Democratic governor. And Republicans enacted a pretty aggressive agenda. It involved some education cuts, and that has been sort of her hammer on Tillis. Has been she can hang some of the unpopular initiatives of the Republican legislature, which may have overreached, and voters will be the final judge of that. She can hang that around his neck, sort of like an anvil.
Jumping quickly to another important governor's race. Rick Scott and Charlie Crist. Charlie Crist trying to get his old job back with a different party hat on.
Yeah, Charlie Crist obviously switching to Democratic Party. This is a tight race. This reminds me a lot of 2010. The only difference between this and 2010 in Florida is that rather than spending tens of millions of dollars of his own money, Rick Scott is not spending his own money. He raised tens of millions of dollars for this campaign and is going to probably spend at least 50 or 60 million.
Good Lord.
And voters don't. We saw a Quinnipiac University poll this week had Scott up 44-42, so it's a tie. But voters don't like either candidate, and that's a change. Voters in Florida have never liked Rick Scott. He won very narrowly in 2010 over Alex Sink.
I thought Charlie Crist was pretty popular at one time.
He was pretty popular, but Rick Scott and Republicans have used all that money to beat Charlie Crist up on the airwaves, and now both are equally unpopular. Both their favorable, unfavorable ratings are both around net -10. They're both very unpopular, and Florida voters are going to have to sort of hold their nose and pick one. And right now, I think if you really had to put your thumb on the scale for either candidate, you'd probably give Scott the edge at this point, which is something that we wouldn't have said 2 months ago when Crist was more popular.
Yeah.
And Crist hasn't had the resources to respond the same way. He's a very aggressive fundraiser, but he's lagged behind pretty badly.
He's a good candidate, so yeah. Right now it's tied. So still good. Could go either way. You say right now the edge to Rick Scott. Some other important Senate races we'll get into when we come back. You have a question about a particular one, give us a call at 866-55-PRESS with Stephen Shepard from Politico.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, what do you say? It's time to ask for your help again. And listen, I got to be honest with you. We really need you. We're more than halfway through this pledge drive so far, and we're just nowhere near where we need to be. I mean, that's just flat out. And, we depend on you. That's what community television is all about. Stephanie, Tom, myself, Amy, we bring you the news of the day, bring you our commentary. But we depend on you to keep it going and to keep Free Speech TV alive. Again, with community television, no government support, no Koch brothers support, no corporate support. The only way that we can bring you the fearless and the independent, totally bias-free television that you want and you depend on is with your help. So I just got to ask you to dig in as much as you can. I'm really concerned that we don't make it this pledge drive that could really impact what's happening with Free Speech TV. So let's just dig in. Let's make a goal together. I'd really like to see if we can't raise $2,000 today. I mean, $2,000 today. That's not a lot. If everybody does his or her share, we can make that and help you and maybe inspire you to make that contribution today. You've been so generous in the past. We just need your help again. For $120, just $10 a month, we'll send you a Bill Press Show mug and a cup of coffee to show our appreciation. $240, $20 a month, the mug and a cup and a pound of coffee and a French press to go with it. Don't need anything else for your morning coffee except me. And then for $360 or $30 a month, the mug, the coffee, the French press, and you participating in our Voices of the People campaign, where you and I will do a little telephone call, talk about the issues of the day. We'll put all the calls together and play that tape on the air as part of our Voices of the People. And for those of you who are blessed enough and able to do it and generous enough, if you can come up with $1,000 for Free Speech TV, and then make your way to Washington. Carol and I will take you out to dinner. We'll have a good night here on Capitol Hill, one of our great restaurants on the Hill, and then you can come in and watch the show the next morning with us and join the team. So let's get to that $2,000 today. Please, we really need your help. We got to get this thing moving here. Telephone number, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, or you can go to our website at freespeech.org, freespeech.org. This is it. Just a couple of times a year we come to you for your help, and that's the only way, again, that we keep free speech going. So please be as generous as you can. We wouldn't be here without you. We just want to keep this great partnership going. We'll do our share. You'll do your share. Let's get to that $2,000 today. Need your help, and thank you.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies.
In Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans.
Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer.
Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now.
Please.
Party.
This is the Bill Press Show.
With 39 days before the midterms, we're taking a look at some of the more important races with Steve Shepard, campaigns and elections editor for Politico, Politico.com, of course. Steve, thanks again for coming in. Let's run through some of the other ones that everybody's had their eye on. New Hampshire, Senate race, New Hampshire.
This was, at one time, about a month and a half ago, a double-digit race. It's now no longer. Scott Brown is probably roughly 5 points behind Jeanne Shaheen at this point, if you look at polls. This is the one race.
He's been moving up.
He has been moving up. This is the one race in the country, if you just read the paper that both sides push, particularly Brown, where foreign policy and the threat of ISIL or ISIS is really having an impact.
No kidding.
He's... The New Hampshire already has one senator in Kelly Ayotte who is active when it comes to foreign affairs. Scott Brown has had John McCain into New Hampshire, and this is what he's messaging along with immigration, more so than healthcare, more so than the economy. This is really where the one race that you can point to and say that this might be having an impact. Now, obviously, that means over the next 39 days. How this quote-unquote war is prosecuted could play there differently. So we're just going to have to wait and see. But and that just lends some sort of variability to that race.
Right now, just Jeanne Shaheen with a slight edge.
Yes,
think?
I would say probably a significant edge, but it is closer than it was before.
All right. I thought we had time for some other races, but we don't, so we'll just have to get you back again soon. All right? Sometime in the next 39 days. Thanks, Steve, very much.
Thank you.
Politico.com. This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, what do you say? It's time to ask for your help again. And listen, I got to be honest with you. We really need you. We're more than halfway through this pledge drive so far, and we're just nowhere near where we need to be. I mean, that's just flat out. And, we depend on you. That's what community television is all about. Stephanie, Tom, myself, Amy, we bring you the news of the day, bring you our commentary. But we depend on you to keep it going and to keep Free Speech TV alive. Again, with community television, no government support, no Koch brothers support, no corporate support. The only way that we can bring you the fearless and the independent, totally bias-free television that you want and you depend on is with your help. So I just got to ask you to dig in as much as you can, really concerned that we don't make it this pledge drive that could really impact what's happening with Free Speech TV. So let's just dig in. Let's make a goal together. I'd really like to see if we can't raise $2,000 today. I mean, $2,000 today. That's not a lot. If everybody does his or her share, we can make that, and help you and maybe inspire you to make that contribution today. You've been so generous in the past. We just need your help again. For $120, just $10 a month, we'll send you a Bill Press Show mug and a cup of coffee to show our appreciation. $240, $20 a month, the mug and a cup and a pound of coffee and a French press to go with it. Don't need anything else for your morning coffee except me. And then for $360 or $30 a month, the mug, the coffee, the French press, and you participating in our Voices of the People campaign, where you and I will do a little telephone call, talk about the issues of the day. We'll put all the calls together and play that tape on the air as part of our Voices of the People. And for those of you who are blessed enough and able to do it and generous enough, if you can come up with $1,000 for Free Speech TV and then make your way to Washington, Carol and I will take you out to dinner. We'll have a good night here on Capitol Hill, one of our great restaurants on the Hill, and then you can come in and watch the show the next morning with us and join the team. So let's get to that $2,000 today. Please, we really need your help. We got to get this thing moving here. Telephone number, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, or you can go to our website at freespeech.org, freespeech.org. This is it. Just a couple of times a year we come to you for your help. And that's the only way, again, that we keep free speech going. So please be as generous as you can. We wouldn't be here without you. We just want to keep this great partnership going. We'll do our share. You'll do your share. Let's get to that $2,000 today. Need your help, and thank you.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Two anti-government, self-described revolutionaries have shot up a pizza restaurant as well as a Walmart in Las Vegas.
The internationally syndicated political series, The David Pakman Show, provides progressive talk, analysis, and interviews with the nation's youngest radio and television host, David Pakman. Find out more and catch up on all the latest episodes by visiting our website at freespeech.org.
Online, this is The Bill Press Show.
33 minutes after the hour, Friday, September 26th, it is The Bill Press Show. We are here in our nation's capital, coming to you live coast to coast, and brought to you today by AFSCME. You know, the great men and women of AFSCME. Under President Lee Saunders, the largest public employee and healthcare workers union in the entire country. And for more information about their good work making America happen, check out their website at afscme.org, AFSCME.org. And if I'm not mistaken, AFSCME got its start right in the citadel of liberalism in the Midwest, in Madison, Wisconsin, where we find, back from Scotland, our good friend, senior Washington correspondent for The Nation, John Nichols. Hey, John.
You are exactly right, Bill Press. AFSCME was started in Wisconsin.
Well, I'm glad I got that right.
I had a feeling he'd know the answer to that.
I knew John Nichols would know the answer to that. John, my gosh, we got so much to talk about. But I want to start. Let's start in Wisconsin. Scott Walker got some bad news, huh? A couple of days ago.
Yes, he did. It was very interesting. As I think anybody who's followed the Wisconsin case circumstance goes, Scott Walker has not exactly been lining up for ethics awards.
Right.
In addition to being viscerally anti-union and using his office to attack public employees, public services, public education, He has also been under shadow throughout his tenure. Investigations into allegations of coordination between his campaign and supposedly independent groups. These are illegal, if in fact they occurred. And at one point a while back, they got a federal judge, a rather conservative federal judge, to issue an injunction and essentially shut down the whole investigation.
Yeah.
And Walker made this, virtually an injunction from on high. Every time he was asked, he said, well, a judge has said that's shut down. It's over. It's done. Well, a 3-judge panel of the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Chicago, including 2 Republican appointed judges, one of whom is actually very conservative, threw the injunction out and actually kind of read the riot act to the judge who had issued the injunction and said this was, an unnecessary intervention, working around in an area where the judge who issued the injunction shouldn't have been.
Wow.
So this is right back on the front pages. Doesn't mean the investigation is immediately started again. There's a lot of court wrangling. But if you tell me, Bill, you're a former political operative in your day, if 5 weeks out from an election you have front-page headlines saying investigation into corruption and wrongdoing is, renewed or is given an okay by the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, that's not good news, is it?
Hardly good news. And the assumption, most people who see that headline will say guilty, right? I mean, fairly or unfairly. That's what people will think. If he's being investigated, he must be guilty. Not good for Scott Walker. You're right. He was crowing, right, over the fact that he'd been cleared. He hadn't been cleared. They just squelched the investigation, or that one judge did. So that's certainly not good news for him, but good news for Mary Burke. That's her name, right?
It is Mary Burke, his opponent.
Burke, right.
And I will tell you, the one reality and the one maybe footnote I'll put on this is Wisconsin, like a lot of other states, is now so deeply divided politically that even when you get something like this, it doesn't. It's not like the old days where people are so aghast they abandon you. People are in their camps. It is a close race. It is already a bitter race, and they haven't even begun debates. So, you'll be talking about Wisconsin through November 4th, as you will a number of other states. This is one of those years where even revelations and even scandals may not stop folks. Just to give you an example of what I mean, I think in the next week or so, Chris Christie will be coming to campaign for Walker.
Oh, good. The two of them have a lot in common for sure. Hey, John, now I want to move along because I want to ask you, Eric Holder stepping down yesterday. From a progressive, we know the right, is always accused of going after him, the Republicans on Fast and Furious and that other stuff. But as a progressive, how would you weigh the legacy of Eric Holder?
It's a mixed legacy. I think we have to be frank about that. One of the challenges in a situation like this is just to read the objections of the right and say, well, he must be a good guy. And certainly on some of the things that right-wingers were mad at Eric Holder about, people should be proud of him or should like what he's done. For instance, he did, at a critical point, raise the profile of voting rights and object in appropriate ways to voter ID laws. And I think that's a very vital bully pulpit, using the Attorney General's position in the Department of Justice, both in rhetorical and in practical ways, to try and defend voting rights. Big deal. He also has, frankly, raised the profile on a host of racial justice issues. Remember, he was the guy who went into Missouri at there. And that's not the only example. There's quite a few examples of steps he has taken in this regard. By the same token, this is a man who came to the most powerful law enforcement position in the United States in the aftermath of the Wall Street meltdown. And I frankly do wish that the Department of Justice had done more. I frankly wish that it was doing more to investigate and challenge monopoly practices and banking practices, some of the objections that many people have had to Wall Street and to others. I think there are things there that in Franklin Roosevelt's era perhaps would have taken harder hits. And I wish Eric Holder had taken more of a lead in that area.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. Susan Page from USA Today was pointing out, too, in our last hour, that as those of us journalists, Eric Holder has pursued more journalists. James Risen from the Times is still out there and may go to jail, right, for refusing to release his sources. He's pursued.
I think on Risen they have finally begun to back down. Some at least making statements. One would hope. Back off.
But he's prosecuted.
You're exactly right, Bill.
Prosecuted more cases, for leaks and journalists than any other attorney general in history. It's like almost with a vengeance, and so. That's kind
I share that concern, and it's something actually that earlier this year we led a campaign on, arguing that it is very, very important to renew a lot of these First Amendment protections for journalists. And I think that the president often says some terrific things, but some of the actions of the Department of Justice in this regard have been particularly unsettling, and that should be the one thing that Democratic and Republican presidents agree on, is that you don't go after reporters doing their job.
Right. Now, by the way, this week, we also happened to go to war. We started a new war against ISIS in Syria, a war without any authorization by Congress and without any desire by Congress to even vote on it. They were happy to get out of town and not vote on it. I know you talked to Barbara Lee about that this week. Will there be any congressional authorization of this war?
There may be. Perhaps, if you can imagine this, the degeneration of our Congress. They're saying, well, after we get done with this election, maybe we'll come back and deal with matters of war and peace. This is so unsettling, Bill. And I think that we need to kind of step back for 1 second and just realize that the Constitution is absolutely clear in this regard. The Congress of the United States has a responsibility to declare offensive wars. I mean, wars that the United States steps into, not because we've been immediately attacked, not because we have, literally a threat at our border, but, where we choose to act internationally. Mm-hmm. The Congress has a duty and a real role in that. That's not written there, as some sort of bureaucratic step. The notion of advice and consent is rooted in the idea that the executive, the president, has a lot of authority as commander-in-chief, but that his or her actions will be made better by an interaction with Congress.
Right.
Either Congress will say, yes, you can go ahead, but here are some of the things we would like you to focus on, or here are some of the things we would like to do to limit you. Or the Congress might say no, and if the Congress does say no, that can well be to the good. And so what Barbara Lee is saying is, look, and she said this to me, I think it was Tuesday night. She said, we were out in the western part of the U.S. She said, we shouldn't be here. We should be in Washington. When the United States starts dropping bombs, when you see a significant escalation, that's the term she and John Garamendi and others have used, a significant escalation into what really does, by any measure, look to be a war. That's the point at which Congress is supposed to be acting. And far from acting, the very same people, Bill, who has spent much of this year talking about President Obama exceeding his authority,
right,
actually suing him,
yes,
right, or going all this using taxpayer dollars to try to sue the President of the United States for issuing some executive orders on the minimum wage or something like that. They don't have the time to actually do what they're supposed to do as regards a president and war. I think this is a tremendous indictment. And particularly, I would argue, of John Boehner, because Boehner has tried to make such a big political point of the president doing things Congress might not want him to do. And yet, here's a time where the Constitution says Boehner should have Congress in session.
Right.
Instead, Boehner's off fundraising and campaigning.
Oh, yeah. No, please, whatever you do, don't make us exercise our constitutional responsibility. Don't make us do our job, right? Don't make us vote on a war. It is just, it's pathetic. I called it this week for the Do-Nothing Congress. It was the essence of their do-nothingness. But anyhow, you can steal that line if you want, John.
I will.
John Nichols, we covered a lot of territory here, but it's so great to have you here. And thank you again for joining us from Scotland with all the insights into the election over there. That was really great
Good stuff.
Thanks, John. Have a great weekend.
It's always good to be with you folks, and just the range of stuff you do is very reassuring. I wish we had a lot more folks doing it.
Thank you, man. Thank you. John Nichols from The Nation, thenation.com. Hey, friends, what do you say? It's time to ask for your help again. And listen, I got to be honest with you. We really need you. We're more than halfway through this pledge drive so far, and we're just nowhere near where we need to be. I mean, that's just flat out. And, we depend on you. That's what community television is all about. Stephanie, Tom, myself, Amy, we bring you the news of the day, bring you our commentary. But we depend on you to keep it going and to keep Free Speech TV alive. Again, with community television, no government support, no Koch brothers support, no corporate support. The only way that we can bring you the fearless and the independent, totally bias-free television that you want and you depend on is with your help. So I just got to ask you to dig in as much as you can. I'm really concerned that we don't make it this pledge drive that could really impact what's happening with Free Speech TV. So let's just dig in. Let's make a goal together. I'd really like to see if we can't raise $2,000 today. I mean, $2,000 today. That's not a lot. If everybody does his or her share, we can make that and help you and maybe inspire you to make that contribution today. You've been so generous in the past. We just need your help again. For $120, just $10 a month, we'll send you a Bill Press Show mug and a cup of coffee to show our appreciation. $240, $20 a month, the mug and a cup and a pound of coffee and a French press to go with it. Don't need anything else for your morning coffee except me. And then for $360 or $30 a month, the mug, the coffee, the French press, and you participating in our Voices of the People campaign, where you and I will do a little telephone call, talk about the issues of the day. We'll put all the calls together and play that tape on the air as part of our Voices of the People. And for those of you who are blessed enough and able to do it and generous enough, if you can come up with $1,000 for Free Speech TV and then make your way to Washington, Carol and I will take you out to dinner. We'll have a good night here on Capitol Hill, one of our great restaurants on the Hill, and then you can come in and watch the show the next morning with us and join the team. So let's get to that $2,000 today. Please, we really need your help. We got to get this thing moving here. Telephone number, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669. Or you can go to our website at freespeech.org, freespeech.org. This is it. Just a couple of times a year we come to you for your help. And that's the only way, again, that we keep free speech going. So please be as generous as you can. We wouldn't be here without you. We just want to keep this great partnership going. We'll do our share. You'll do your share. Let's get to that $2,000 today. Need your help, and thank you.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Joel Anderson covers sports for Buzzfeed, joins us at the top of the next hour. And then we're going to be talking about the new solutions to homelessness adopted by several states, starting with Utah, actually, things that are working. But you know what? It's Friday. Say no no more. You know what we like to do on Friday? Look back at some of our favorite sound bites of the week and bring you our top 5. Start at the bottom, work our way up to the top. A week ago Sunday was the big 400,000 people climate change protest march in Washington, D.C. David Letterman tells us it had an immediate impact.
Number 5.
400,000 people demonstrating to get people's attention about the problem of climate change. And by God, and I'm usually pretty cynical about stuff like this, but by God, I think it worked because today it's cooler.
I mean, he's not wrong.
No. There you go. Overnight. A plus B or 1 plus 1, whatever. It's just, you can't deny it. Terry O'Neill, the president of the National Organization for Women, in studio with us this week. It was a week ago today that Roger Goodell held a nothing burger, a news conference where he was expected to say something and said absolutely nothing. And Terry O'Neill said, yeah, here's what it was all about.
Number 4.
Roger Goodell thinks he has a public relations problem on his hand. And his aim is to get this story off the front page.
Mm-hmm. That's why he said nothing. Well, it didn't work. It kind of boomeranged on him. On another front, Conan O'Brien keeping us a date with one of the latest in the fast food department. Here is the way you can, I guess you could say, have your cake and eat it too.
Number 3.
Pizza Hut is testing out a new lower-calorie pizza. Yeah. To which the average American said, great, now I can eat 5. That's what we do.
You know what? A lot of people are going to say that.
He's also not wrong about that either. I mean, we're...
no. And we had a historic moment. It's the first time. I'm so excited. I've never made, the clips at the end of the week. But this is the first time. So... A historic moment at the White House briefing this week when I was called upon by Josh Earnest. Poor Jen Bendery from Huffington Post was there. She'd been trying to get a question in. Josh gave me the last question, but I couldn't resist ceding part of my time to Jennifer Bendery.
Number 2.
In the interest of collegiality, I'm going to cede my second follow-up to Jen Bendery from Huffington Post.
All right. That's very collegial of you, Bill.
Thanks, Bill Press.
Oh.
Aren't you sweet?
Aww. She owes me. I told her, right. Dinner at the Palm.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. And, we also had a week ago today a breach of security at the White House. A jumper, Omar Gonzalez, over the fence across the front lawn into the front door. David Letterman, again, on the identity of the fence jumper.
Number 1.
They're lining up at the White House now and hopping the fence. And one of these trespassers made it all the way to the front door at the White House. And when I heard this report, I just said, oh, for God's sakes, Hillary, wait your turn.
They're still talking about what they're going to do. By the way, I have my column up. Peter, have you posted my column? Yes,
yes indeed.
Okay. My column is on the answer to the White House fence jumper last week, and one of the answers is not to allow the Secret Service to expand the security perimeter around the White House as they have proposed. The answer, I believe, is for the Secret Service simply to do its job, and they can start by locking the front door. This is not that complicated. We'll be right back, tell you what the president's up to today. Hey, friends, what do you say? It's time to ask for your help again. And listen, I got to be honest with you. We really need you. We're more than halfway through this pledge drive so far, and we're just nowhere near where we need to be. I mean, that's just flat out. And, we depend on you. That's what community television is all about. Stephanie, Tom, myself, Amy, we bring you the news of the day, bring you our commentary. But we depend on you to keep it going and to keep Free Speech TV alive. Again, with community television, no government support, no Koch brothers support, no corporate support. The only way that we can bring you the fearless and the independent, totally bias-free television that you want and you depend on is with your help. So I just got to ask you to dig in as much as you can. I'm really concerned that we don't make it this pledge drive that could really impact what's happening with Free Speech TV. So let's just dig in. Let's make a goal together. I'd really like to see if we can't raise $2,000 today. I mean, $2,000 today. That's not a lot. If everybody does his or her share, we can make that, and help you and maybe inspire you to make that contribution today. You've been so generous in the past. We just need your help again. For $120, just $10 a month, we'll send you a Bill Press Show mug and a cup of coffee to show our appreciation. $240, $20 a month, the mug and a cup and a pound of coffee and a French press to go with it. Don't need anything else for your morning coffee except me. And then for $360 or $30 a month, the mug, the coffee, the French press, and you participating in our Voices of the People campaign, where you and I will do a little telephone call, talk about the issues of the day. We'll put all the calls together and play that tape on the air as part of our Voices of the People. And for those of you who are blessed enough and able to do it and generous enough, if you can come up with $1,000 for Free Speech TV and then make your way to Washington, Carol and I will take you out to dinner. We'll have a good night here on Capitol Hill, one of our great restaurants on the Hill, and then you can come in and watch the show the next morning with us and join the team. So let's get to that $2,000 today. Please, we really need your help. We got to get this thing moving here. Telephone number, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, or you can go to our website at freespeech.org, freespeech.org. This is it. Just a couple of times a year we come to you for your help. And that's the only way, again, that we keep free speech going. So please be as generous as you can. We wouldn't be here without you. We just want to keep this great partnership going. We'll do our share. You'll do your share. Let's get to that $2,000 today. Need your help, and thank you.
This is the Bill Press Show.
President Obama coming back from New York, where he had 3 really, really busy days, addressing the General Assembly, addressing the Climate Change Summit, addressing the Clinton Global Initiative, chairing a meeting of the United Nations Security Council, a lot of one-on-one meetings with various heads of state, talking about everything from climate change to Ebola to the Ukraine, and of course to ISIS, and putting that, expanding that coalition. Peter, you mentioned this morning there's a new member of the Coalition of the Willing. Coalition of the Willing. Are we calling it that? The Coalition of the Willing?
They're not calling it the Coalition of the Willing. We're sort of calling it the Coalition. Denmark has joined. They are sending 7 fighter planes. Denmark, the military.
All right. So at any rate, good for them. We sold them the F-16, so the least they can do is...
It's called a return on investment.
Yeah, return on investment, right. But the president, at least my point was, he's kind of kicking back a little bit today, just has really one event on the schedule. After he gets the daily briefing, 2 events. He'll be speaking at the Global Health Security Agenda, which will be held at the White House. And then he will attend a private fundraiser for the DNC this afternoon. We have our briefing with Josh Earnest today at 1 o'clock. I can see who else I might cede some time to other friends I can make. Yeah. We'll be back. Talk to Joel Anderson from Buzzfeed.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey friends, what do you say? It's time to ask for your help again. And listen, I got to be honest with you. We really need you. We're more than halfway through this pledge drive so far, and we're just nowhere near where we need to be. I mean, that's just flat out. And, you know, we depend on you. That's what community television is all about. You know, Stephanie, Tom, myself, Amy, you know, we bring you the news of the day, bring you our commentary. But we depend on you to keep it going and to keep Free Speech TV alive. Again, with community television, you know, no government support, no Koch brothers support, no corporate support. The only way that we can bring you the fearless and the independent, totally bias-free television that you want and you depend on is with your help. So I just got to ask you to dig in as much as you can. Really concerned that we don't make it this pledge drive that could really impact what's happening with Free Speech TV. So, you know, let's just dig in. Let's make a goal together. I'd really like to see if we can't raise $2,000 today. I mean, $2,000 today. That's not a lot. If everybody does his or her share, we can make that, and to help you and maybe inspire you to make that contribution today. You've been so generous in the past. We just need your help again. For $120, just $10 a month, we'll send you a Bill Press Show mug and a cup of coffee to show our appreciation. $240, $20 a month, the mug and a cup and a pound of coffee and a French press to go with it. Don't need anything else for your morning coffee except me. And then for $360 or $30 a month, the mug, the coffee, the French press, and you participating in our Voices of the People campaign, where you and I will do a little telephone call, talk about the issues of the day. We'll put all the calls together and play that tape on the air as part of our Voices of the People. And for those of you who are blessed enough and able to do it and generous enough, if you can come up with $1,000 for Free Speech TV and then make your way to Washington, Carol and I will take you out to dinner. We'll have a good night here on Capitol Hill, one of our great restaurants on the Hill, and then you can come in and watch the show the next morning with us and join the team. So let's get to that $2,000 today. Please, we really need your help. We got to get this thing moving here. Telephone number, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669. Or you can go to our website at freespeech.org, freespeech.org. This is it. You know, just a couple of times a year we come to you for your help. And that's the only way, again, that we keep free speech going. So please be as generous as you can. We wouldn't be here without you. We just want to keep this great partnership going. We'll do our share. You'll do your share. Let's get to that $2,000 today. Need your help, and thank you.
You know, sometimes when I'm walking down the street, I'm not necessarily looking out and seeing all these water-wasting lawns and people that aren't as connected to their neighbors and their lives as they could be. I'm walking down the street looking, going, edible oases, rainwater-fed landscape, and just looking at the possibility of these sort of landscapes up and down the streets of neighborhoods and communities all across this world. Small actions do ripple, and they add up, and they have a cumulative impact. And so when you're building upon your small mindful actions, you know, you have the confidence and the ability to take on something a little bit greater. So that could be nice. This, in the context of where we're at as a planet, with climate change and these really big issues, and people that are more disconnected and less skilled than ever, it becomes even more amazing and powerful how much of a solution this is to design these ecological gardens and to come together with shared vision and shared voice. There's never been a time where your choices have mattered more. Doing something as simple as us transforming a landscape creates a model that anybody could look at far and wide, and you're sharing food and connecting and building skills together in your own neighborhood. It's a richer way to live in normal times, but in the new normal of climate change and erratic weather and economic upheaval, it becomes essential. Whether it's me, you, Gandhi, Che, MLK, Willy Wonka, whoever, past, present, or future, the power of our daily actions is all that we have. You know, and like Archimedes said, give me a place to stand and a lever long enough and I'll move the world. And that's what those simple actions do. They move the world every day.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Eric Holder out as Attorney General with a mixed record. Republicans don't like him, but a lot of liberals were not satisfied either. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. It is Friday, September 26th. The Bill Press Show here in our nation's capital and booming out to you nationwide, coast to coast, on your local progressive talk radio station and on our video stream. TawkrTV, in fact, anywhere on the planet, you can catch our video stream at youtube.com/TawkrTV. Good to have you with us today. Almost ready to go into the weekend, but we got another good hour here ahead of us with some very important things to talk about. And appreciate your having us with us. Remember, you can join the conversation anytime by giving us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Join the team here on a Friday morning. Peter Ogburn and Lisa Murphy.
Good morning, Bill.
Happy Friday.
I'm so glad to see this weekend get here.
Damn straight.
Yes, indeed. We're going to see the Nats tomorrow night.
Yeah?
Wrap it up. Yep. Next to the last game of the season.
I'll be there today at 1 o'clock for the Businessman Special, the early game. So if anybody's there wants to buy me a beer.
They have a doubleheader today, single game tomorrow, and then the finale on Sunday before they go into the playoffs. Do we have a playoff schedule yet?
No, not yet.
Okay. Next week. Starts next week.
Yeah.
But we have home field advantage, though.
We have one more. The magic number is one game to lock up home field advantage through the NL playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But we do have home field advantage for the first round, whoever we play in the wild card.
All right. Yep. Alicia Cruz is here on the phones, 866-55-PRESS. Again, your toll-free number. And Cyprian Bolding, our videographer, keeping us looking good on that camera. A big development yesterday by the Secretary of Transportation, Anthony Foxx, former mayor of Charlotte, North Carolina. For the first time, he has okayed, we knew this was coming, a commercial use of drones here in the United States. And it's not Amazon. It's not Google delivering things to your door. It is the Motion Pictures Association of America, the big studios able to use drones in where they're filming movies. Here is Secretary Foxx.
I am announcing that the United States Department of Transportation has granted members of the motion picture industry permission to use unmanned aircraft while filming movies.
Yeah, just think, though. That's going to be cool.
It's going to be a total game changer for movies.
Total game changer.
Yeah.
I mean, they've done a lot with helicopters and stuff, but I mean, these drones are...
Dude.
First of all, it's so much cheaper.
Yeah,
they can cover so much more territory. Poof.
Some of the videos I have seen that come out of drones where I think it's just the coolest thing are in damaged areas from natural disasters or things, because they could just get up and get a bird's eye view of things, but also get super close.
Yeah.
Which a helicopter
They
or
can't. No, these things can really get down low.
Bird's eye view.
And the Secretary admitted this could be just the first of many commercial applications.
This is the first step to allowing the film and television industry to use unmanned aircraft systems in our nation's airspace. And it's a milestone in the wider effort to allow unmanned aircraft for many different types of commercial use.
So who knows? Who knows what could be next, right?
Yeah.
Again, Jeff Bezos.
Cool.
Jeff Bezos has his idea. We'll see how that works out. Hey, we're going to be talking. There's some more news on the NFL front. Not necessarily good news. Joel Anderson from Buzzfeed will join us here at the top of the hour, and then we're going to talk about a problem that's going to disappear from public view, but there's important new developments in the field of caring for the homeless in this country. Talk about that at the half hour. But first, Peter.
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Bill, last night here in Washington, D.C., the Media Research Center had their big MRC Gala. This is the conservative group that takes a look at media and who's saying outrageous things.
I wasn't invited.
Well, you weren't invited, but you were there. They had a Damn Those Conservatives to Hell award, in which they presented an award to progressive commentators or whoever said the most outrageous comment about conservatives, and you were one of the nominees. Did you not know this?
No. Nobody asked me if I would accept this or be nominated
Shouts
for any award.
Shouts to Chris Moody from Yahoo News. He pointed this out. It was between you, Chris Matthews, and Martin Bashir for their your comments. And I have
good company.
Yeah.
Yes, I do have some bad news.
Oh no, I didn't win.
You came in third.
No.
Out of 3, you came in third. The winner was Martin Bashir for his comments about Sarah Palin that eventually got him fired.
Yes.
So at least, you weren't that.
But top 3?
Top 3 is rarefied air, my friend.
If I'm one of the top 3 people that pissed off the media, whatever research center it is, I wear that as a badge of honor.
Amen.
Right.
There you go. Wendy's fast food is best known for serving burgers and fries, but they are adding something else to their menu. Barbecue pulled pork. It is a new menu rollout that you were able to get until the end of November, until early November. They're going to have a barbecue pulled pork cheeseburger. They're going to have a cheeseburger. They're just going to throw a handful of barbecue pork on top of it. They also have barbecue pulled pork cheese fries, which is fries, cheddar cheese sauce, red onion, barbecue sauce, and pulled pork. Now, I've been low in my life, but if you're going to go get barbecue from a Wendy's,
I was going to say
that's a special kind of low. That's
some
darkness there, man.
No, I know you like the pulled pork. I know you like the barbecue.
I love barbecue.
You have to
I don't love
barbecue.
Wendy's barbecue.
No.
I can almost guarantee it.
Give me some 12 bones in Asheville.
Damn right.
Yeah, that's it.
Damn right. And more bad news. Believe it or not, even more bad news for the NFL. Yesterday, the AP reported that they spoke to an unnamed law enforcement officer who confirmed that they delivered the now infamous video of inside the elevator with Ray Rice punching out and knocking out his then fiancée in the casino. Delivered it to the NFL League Security Chief Jeffrey Miller in April. So the head of security for the NFL had the tape in April. That, again, according to a recent AP report, and they confirmed with an unnamed law enforcement official.
Yes, which let's find out what that means.
Let's take it from there.
Yeah, let's take it from there. Joel Anderson is a senior sports reporter for Buzzfeed. And talk about perfect timing. Hey, Joel, always good to have you with us. But does this mean that Roger Goodell's been lying all along?
It doesn't necessarily mean he's been lying all along. I guess what it means is that as much as ever before, people are calling his credibility into question. And, I mean, there's a lot of evidence that would suggest that maybe the public isn't getting the full story on this.
Well, it's certainly, I guess, we can. I mean, there have been other sources as well, and this one seems to be the final one that confirmed that they did. Somebody, at least inside the NFL, did have the inside the elevator video as far back as April. Would you agree?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, there certainly seems to be some sort of evidence that yes, that someone at the NFL office was in possession of the tape. Now, whether or not, we can say that Roger Goodell has seen that tape, then then and that's probably what's okay for him. He likes having plausible deniability right now.
Yeah,
right?
but didn't he also say several times that nobody in the NFL saw this tape beforehand? I mean, I've been following this pretty closely. Peter, help me out here.
The implication here is
denied that
the
anybody...
NFL has been in the dark about that tape, that they didn't have it, right?
So
Right. And I guess what you could probably deduce from this is that someone there has it, but it seems like, and you can sort of get the, read between the tea leaves here, or read the tea leaves here when during this press conference last week, is that it didn't seem like they were all that interested in seeing it. So it's possible somebody there had it, but it doesn't seem like they went out of their way to take possession of it and watch it. And maybe that's because they know how horrible it was, and they didn't even want to, bother to look at it.
That to me, I think, is really telling about this whole thing. So maybe the chief of security, the head of security for the NFL, had it, right? Like, let's say he did. Roger Goodell clearly didn't make it a priority enough to go and take a look at it and factor that into his decision making.
Right. Well, I mean, as you see, that's sort of that's basically something that's endemic within the league because, I mean, the Ravens owner, Steve Bisciotti, just told you earlier this week that we weren't that interested in getting the tape. He's already admitted that. Roger Goodell won't. But it would seem that these two guys are pretty close. They golf together. Like, they've got people that can watch that video for them, and why watch it if it's only going to implicate them any further?
So, does Roger Goodell survive in your judgment?
Well, yes, because he serves the owners, and the owners right now, I mean, the good thing about it, with the exception of Steve Bisciotti, they're not taking these punches. They're not facing all of this criticism. That is essentially Roger Goodell's work. He works at their discretion. And I mean, right now, I mean, the NFL is making a lot of money, and that's a lot of Roger Goodell's job. I mean, even in the face of all this criticism, in the face of these huge scandals, the NFL had a ratings bump last weekend, right?
God.
So, I mean, that's ultimately what matters to these guys. You can sort of read, you can listen to Steve Bisciotti and see how he sort of approached this and sort of what his thoughts are about these incidents. I think they just kind of want to ride this out. I don't think Roger Goodell is going to lose his job over this. I would say that this is about as much of a crisis as we've seen an NFL commissioner face in the last 3 or 4 decades. But
yes,
it looks. I can't imagine that they're going to let him go over this with ratings and money coming in the way that they are.
Joel Anderson is with a senior sports writer for BuzzFeed at BuzzFeed.com. And we've also saw a little taste this week, I think, and maybe some insight into how invulnerable Roger Goodell is by what happened to Bill Simmons. So, I mean, clearly Simmons went out of his way maybe with his comments to stir things up and to get some attention. But he called Roger Goodell an effing liar on ESPN, suspended for 3 weeks. 3 weeks.
And he did it on his podcast, so it wasn't on ESPN's air necessarily.
Right. That speak to the power of the NFL over ESPN?
Well, I would say this. I mean, the NFL and ESPN are partners. I mean, no matter how you look at it, I mean, ESPN has a contract with NFL to broadcast their games, and so it's reasonable to assume, hey, these guys
pretty lucrative contract, right?
Yeah, a couple $2 billion. So, but I would say this, just like, I have when I come on here, my employer, they want me to respect certain standards, and there's certain things that I'm able to say and that I'm not able to say. ESPN presumably has those same sort of standards, and that looks like what Bill got caught up in. And the one thing about it, though, is that, I could understand why Bill Simmons might be confused, because he has this really, loose, sort of jocular, bro kind of way of talking, and it suffuses his writing and his podcast and everything previous. So, I guess I could understand why there might be some confusion on his part, but why can't I say this? I mean, essentially, our Pulitzer Prize-winning reporting team is saying this. Keith Olbermann has been calling for firing.
Yes.
So, what's the big deal here?
Right.
So,
now, I mentioned that the other day that Keith Olbermann on the air, right, said that Roger Goodell was an enabler of men who beat women. That's pretty strong stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Keith Olbermann is no shrinking violet. I can only imagine that ESPN's front office this week.
Yeah,
I would love to see the memos that have gone on in that in Bristol this week.
I'm sure. Now, I'm no fan of Bill Simmons by any stretch. I'm just not a fan of his. But the fact that now ESPN's got him on this suspension, they're saying that it goes across all media, his podcast, his Twitter account. Simmons was sort of a self-made guy before he ever joined ESPN, and he said that if they punished him, he was going to go public. No word yet from him since the suspension, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's a wild card. I mean, and he's pretty much one of the few people at ESPN that is not expendable, that he has his own audience. He's the kind of guy that can go off on his own and take a lot of people with him and make a lot of money doing it. And so, he doesn't. The thing is, he doesn't have to take this punishment if he doesn't want to, and he can, like he said, name names and start doing things. So I'm curious to know what the next week or two is going to bring for him, because he sort of seemed to be anticipating this.
Yeah. Hey, Joel, I hope this is fair, but just to get away from sports for just a second, I think the last time we talked to you was out when you were on the ground in Ferguson, one of the first reporters on the ground out there. What did you think yesterday, so long after those events and the killing of Michael Brown, to hear the police chief finally apologize to the family?
Well, it's just a sign that, Ferguson hasn't been able to do much of anything right. From the police chief on down, the mayor on down, actually. The mayor on down, the police chief, the city government, they have not been able to sort of respond to this in a way that anyone can find to be sufficient. And it's a little bit of case of too little, too late. I would say this, too. I mean, last night the story broke that the publicist that helped sort of coordinate this response, they just fired him after it was revealed he'd served some prison time for shooting somebody about a decade ago. And it's just...
What? Good Lord! I didn't know that. Oh,
they're paying him $154 an hour. Now, here's the thing. I mean, if you're going to pay that much money for a response, you want to get it right. You want to hire somebody that has impeccable credentials. You want to have somebody that's going to give you good advice, and they haven't even been getting good advice. So, I mean, you just kind of wonder, where's that $154 an hour going? But man. Ferguson just can't. Like I said, Ferguson just can't get this right, and that's why people are still out in the streets. If you're, on Twitter looking at live streams, there are people still out there every night protesting.
Yeah, it's still going on. It's still going on.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Hey, Joel. Joel, great to have you with us, man. Thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Okay.
Oh, hey, no problem. And by the way, that pulled pork cheeseburger with fries, I'm into that.
Are you really? From a Wendy's?
Not from a Wendy's. Not from a Wendy's.
I would try that.
Well, you try it and call us back. Tell us what it's
let me know how that goes.
All right.
All right, take care.
All right, we'll talk to you, Joel. Thanks.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, what do you say? It's time to ask for your help again. And listen, I got to be honest with you. We really need you. We're more than halfway through this pledge drive so far, and we're just nowhere near where we need to be. I mean, that's just flat out. And, we depend on you. That's what community television is all about. Stephanie, Tom, myself, Amy, we bring you the news of the day, bring you our commentary. But we depend on you to keep it going and to keep Free Speech TV alive. Again, with community television, no government support, no Koch brothers support, no corporate support. The only way that we can bring you the fearless and the independent, totally bias-free television that you want and you depend on is with your help. So I just got to ask you to dig in as much as you can. I'm really concerned that we don't make it this pledge drive that could really impact what's happening with Free Speech TV. So let's just dig in. Let's make a goal together. I'd really like to see if we can't raise $2,000 today. I mean, $2,000 today. That's not a lot. If everybody does his or her share, we can make that, and help you and maybe inspire you to make that contribution today. You've been so generous in the past. We just need your help again. For $120, just $10 a month, we'll send you a Bill Press Show mug and a cup of coffee to show our appreciation. $240, $20 a month, the mug and a cup and a pound of coffee and a French press to go with it. Don't need anything else for your morning coffee except me. And then for $360 or $30 a month, the mug, the coffee, the French press, and you participating in our Voices of the People campaign, where you and I will do a little telephone call, talk about the issues of the day. We'll put all the calls together and play that tape on the air as part of our Voices of the People. And for those of you who are blessed enough and able to do it and generous enough, if you can come up with $1,000 for Free Speech TV and then make your way to Washington, Carol and I will take you out to dinner. We'll have a good night here on Capitol Hill, one of our great restaurants on the Hill, and then you can come in and watch the show the next morning with us and join the team. So let's get to that $2,000 today. Please, we really need your help. We got to get this thing moving here. Telephone number, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, or you can go to our website at freespeech.org, freespeech.org. This is it. Just a couple of times a year we come to you for your help. And that's the only way, again, that we keep free speech going. So please be as generous as you can. We wouldn't be here without you. We just want to keep this great partnership going. We'll do our share. You'll do your share. Let's get to that $2,000 today. Need your help, and thank you.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies in Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans.
Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer.
Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now. Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now.
Please.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go at 27 minutes after the hour. We're going to look at homelessness in America in the next half hour with the head of the National Alliance to End Homelessness. The big news of the day, of course, yesterday, President Obama announcing the resignation of Attorney General Eric Holder. Rumors were that he was going to be leaving sometime this year. He is one of the longest-serving members of the president's cabinet. Only Tom Vilsack and Arnie Duncan and Eric Holder, they're the three left over from the original cabinet. Eric Holder, a good friend of the president, and the president yesterday saying he and the nation were grateful for Eric Holder's long tenure.
We could not be more grateful for everything that you've done, not just for me and the administration, but for our country.
Eric Holder leaving with a mixed record, gets high marks for his actions on civil rights, high actions for on voting rights as well. Not such high marks for failure to take any action against criminals on Wall Street or those at the CIA who violated the law by exercising torture. Eric Holder, who prosecuted more journalists than any other attorney general in history. Let's talk homelessness when we come back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, what do you say? It's time to ask for your help again. And listen, I got to be honest with you. We really need you. We're more than halfway through this pledge drive so far, and we're just nowhere near where we need to be. I mean, that's just flat out. And, you know, we depend on you. That's what community television is all about. You know, Stephanie, Tom, myself, Amy, you know, we bring you the news of the day, bring you our commentary. But we depend on you to keep it going and to keep Free Speech TV alive. Again, with community television, you know, no government support, no Koch brothers support, no corporate support. The only way that we can bring you the fearless and the independent, totally bias-free television that you want and you depend on is with your help. So I just got to ask you to dig in as much as you can, really concerned that we don't make it this pledge drive that could really impact what's happening with Free Speech TV. So, you know, let's just dig in. Let's make a goal together. I'd really like to see if we can't raise $2,000 today. I mean, $2,000 today. That's not a lot. If everybody does his or her share, we can make that, and to help you and maybe inspire you to make that contribution today. You've been so generous in the past. We just need your help again. For $120, just $10 a month, we'll send you a Bill Press Show mug and a cup of coffee to show our appreciation. $240, $20 a month, the mug and a cup and a pound of coffee and a French press to go with it. Don't need anything else for your morning coffee except me. And then for $360 or $30 a month, the mug, the coffee, the French press, and you participating in our Voices of the People campaign, where you and I will do a little telephone call, talk about the issues of the day. We'll put all the calls together and play that tape on the air as part of our Voices of the People. And for those of you who are blessed enough and able to do it and generous enough, if you can come up with $1,000 for Free Speech TV and then make your way to Washington, Carol and I will take you out to dinner. We'll have a good night here on Capitol Hill, one of our great restaurants on the Hill, and then you can come in and watch the show the next morning with us and join the team. So let's get to that $2,000 today. Please, we really need your help. We got to get this thing moving here. Telephone number, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669. Or you can go to our website at freespeech.org, freespeech.org. This is it. You know, just a couple of times a year we come to you for your help. And that's the only way, again, that we keep free speech going. So please be as generous as you can. We wouldn't be here without you. We just want to keep this great partnership going. We'll do our share. You'll do your share. Let's get to that $2,000 today. Need your help, and thank you.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies.
In Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans.
Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer.
Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now.
Please.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
This is the Bill Press Show.
At 33 minutes after the hour on a Friday, September 26th, the Bill Press Show. We are live at our nation's capital, booming out to you all across this great country of ours, and also on your local radio station, of course, and on our video stream, TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. And brought to you today by the International Association of Sheet Metal, Air, Rail, and Transportation Workers. put those all together, and you've got the SMART Union giving a fair day's work for a fair day's pay, the men and women of the SMART Union under President Joseph Nigro. And you can find out more about their website, about their good work, rather, from their website, smart-union.org. We salute them, thank them for their support. When I was working with Governor Jerry Brown in California, and when I first started here at Crossfire in Washington, D.C., an issue we talked a lot more about was the issue of homelessness in America. I haven't heard so much about it recently. Until last week, I read a very interesting article in the New Yorker magazine by James Suriecki, their economic writer, about some new approaches to dealing with the problem of homelessness. It interests me very much, and I thought it might interest you. And so we're very pleased to welcome in the studio this morning the CEO and president of the National Alliance to End Homelessness, Nan Roman. Hi, Nan. It's nice to see you.
Nice to be here.
Good to know you're there and such good work. Is it possible to end homelessness in America?
It is possible to end homelessness in America. You know, I'm old enough to remember in the 70s when I first started working on urban and housing issues, we really didn't have widespread homelessness. And the reason was that we had more affordable housing units than we had people who needed them. And now we're 7 million housing units short of having enough for people who are low income. And this press on housing affordability just causes a lot of people to lose their housing and become homeless.
Well, in California, it was the accepted wisdom, I'm not sure how accurate it was, that part of the problem, the reason that suddenly there were so many homelessness was because homeless people were because Ronald Reagan shut down the mental hospitals, and a lot of these people then just flooded out onto the streets. Is that for real, and has that happened in other jurisdictions as well?
Well, there was a big push to shut down mental health hospitals. That really began in the 60s, though. That wasn't something that Ronald Reagan initiated and was largely complete by the time that homelessness emerged. I think what was probably more significant was the cuts that he started making in affordable housing programs, which used to produce a lot of affordable housing and now basically produce very little.
So what is the nature or the size of the problem? It sort of varies state by state, but if you look at how many Americans are homeless today?
So
out of 45 million Americans live in poverty today, I believe. I just saw that number last night. Right?
So the number of people who are homeless is about 600,000 a night, or about 1.5 million a year. So this is one of the reasons we feel like it's solvable, because we know that there was a time when we didn't really have widespread homelessness, and B, it just seems was certainly a serious problem, not a problem that's so big that we can't do something about it.
Now, my math is not that good, but if you had 600,000 a night and 1.5 million a year, but some of these are repeaters, I guess.
Yes, right. So it's kind of this snapshot on a given. It's like a hotel. You know, if you look at it at one point, it's got a few people, but over the course of a year, there's a lot of rotation through the hotel, and a lot of guests would have been there.
1.5 million Americans across the country, right?
Right.
Families.
Families, about 35% are people in families, and the rest are single individuals. There are also a lot of unaccompanied youth who are homeless. That we don't have such a good grasp of the numbers.
And are they homeless for a long period of time?
Most people are not homeless for a long period of time, and most people are homeless for economic reasons. So probably about 75% of people, really it's an economic issue. They are poor.
They lose their house.
They lose their house. They get evicted. You know, they're working McDonald's. They get sick. They don't get paid. They can't pay their rent. They get evicted, and they enter the shelter system while they're figuring out their next place to live. They figure that out and they leave. So for most people, it's a relatively short, although it's getting longer because of this affordable housing issue, but it's relatively short experience and it's not repeated. Then there's sort of this the other side of that coin, I guess, is sort of the stereotype of homelessness, which is the single adult with mental illness or substance abuse disorders, physical disabilities, who spends long times in shelter or on the street. We call that chronic homelessness, so that's the much longer term problem.
Those are the people that Attorney General Ed Meese used to call homeless by choice?
I think they thought everybody was homeless by choice, but this is, the
What a
safety
horrible
net.
thing. What a horrible thing to say.
I know, he did say that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think that
it was an attitude toward the homelessness at that time.
Well, I think this is still a challenge that people really think that homelessness is about either choice or, personal failures. But I think it's really more about this growing gap between what people earn and what they can pay for housing. And then it's like a game of musical chairs, where the most vulnerable people are going to lose out because there just aren't enough chairs. And that's pretty much what's happening. So the homeless system is kind of managing this these housing crises that people are having.
Now, when you said this 1.5 million, I was thinking of these are 1.5 million people who are on the streets every night. But that's not true because there are some shelters.
There's a lot of shelter.
Right?
There is not enough shelter. Sorry for interrupting. There is a lot of shelter, hundreds of thousands of units, and there's a lot of federal money that's spent on this, and it's getting more effective, and it's actually bringing the number of homeless people down, even during the recession and the housing and income issues that we have. But there's still a shortage of shelter, and about a third of people who are homeless are unsheltered. So that's bad. We need to do better than that. Everybody should have at least shelter.
Right. So these are people who are living under the bridge or living, we see them in this neighborhood, frankly.
See them in this neighborhood,
sure. All over the city. And I think probably every city in America.
Yes. Rural areas everywhere. People
camped
living
out
on
on
the street.
doorsteps or living on the street. And
in cars sometimes. Staying with somebody else short term, but not someplace they can stay, longer.
Now, the New Yorker talked about a program in Utah which seemed to sort of put the cart before the horse, if you will, called Housing First.
Right.
Whereas, as I understand it, the practice used to be to try to work with these people with their mental health problems or whatever other substance abuse problems they have and kind of get them back on their feet and then find a place for them to live. Where in Utah, Housing First means, no, let's find them a place to live first and the rest will follow.
Right.
Do I sum it up correctly? Or?
Yes. So this has kind of been a national switch in our approaches. And it did used to be largely for people with mental illness who often have connected substance abuse disorders because they self-medicate, not really getting treatment. So the notion was, you sort of need to get people fixed up and tidied up, and then they can move into home. The problem is that it doesn't work very well, and this is how we are ending up with all these chronically homeless people, because it turns out to be really difficult when you don't have a stable place to live that you can count on to sort of take on these, very thorny problems of substance abuse disorders and mental health.
Yeah.
And so it really didn't work, and we ended up with hundreds of thousands of chronically homeless people. It was a much bigger group of these people living on the street. And then some real pioneers in this area, Samson Barris in New York and others, Bill Hobson in Seattle, said, let's what people need is housing. Housing is a fundamental human need. Let's get them in a place to live and then provide the services and see if that works better. And it does.
And it's cheaper.
And it's cheaper because when you have people with a lot of disabilities on the street, they get hospitalized more often. They spend a lot of time in emergency rooms. They stay longer in a hospital than other people. They get involved with law enforcement because they're living outside. So they get arrested. They're not getting arrested for robbing the bank. They're getting arrested basically because they're living outside. They get bench warrants. So they turn out to cost public systems of care and shelter also a lot of money. There's the famous story from the New Yorker, $1 Million Murray, about a fellow in Reno that died when they tallied, homeless man, when they tallied up what he was costing the correction system in Reno and other public systems, it was cost $1 million
Whoa.
to leave them homeless. There was a terrific cost study done by the Dennis Culhane at the University of Pennsylvania in New York City, looked at 4,000 mentally ill homeless people, 2 years when they were on the street and 2 years after they got into housing. It basically was costing public systems of care $40,000 a year a person to leave mentally ill homeless people on the street. And it pretty much the same in New York, so this is higher than Utah, where, it's New York, where it's about $7,000 to house people with services, but pretty much the same public investment to house them. So you can house them or you can leave them on the street. You're going to pay either way. Why not? Why not get people? Why not end their homelessness?
Right. And it is essentially, we'll take a quick break here, but when we come back, this is essentially a local issue, isn't it? I mean,
it plays out locally, although I will say the administration's been very, very active on it.
But it's basically different cities handle this issue in different ways with different programs. And Nan Roman is there on top of all of them as CEO and president of the National Alliance to End Homelessness. Their website is endhomelessness.org. It's a nice dream. Endhomelessness.org. And Nan Roman says it's a realistic dream. 866-55-PRESS. You've dealt with this problem. Questions about it, give us a call. Here's the chance to get some answers. We'll be right back. Hey, friends, what do you say? It's time to ask for your help again. And listen, I got to be honest with you. We really need you. We're more than halfway through this pledge drive so far, and we're just nowhere near where we need to be. I mean, that's just flat out. And, we depend on you. That's what community television is all about. Stephanie, Tom, myself, Amy, we bring you the news of the day, bring you our commentary. But we depend on you to keep it going and to keep Free Speech TV alive. Again, with community television, no government support, no Koch brothers support, no corporate support. The only way that we can bring you the fearless and the independent, totally bias-free television that you want and you depend on is with your help. So I just got to ask you to dig in as much as you can. I'm really concerned that we don't make it this pledge drive that could really impact what's happening with Free Speech TV. So let's just dig in. Let's make a goal together. I'd really like to see if we can't raise $2,000 today. I mean, $2,000 today. That's not a lot. If everybody does his or her share, we can make that, and to help you and maybe inspire you to make that contribution today. You've been so generous in the past. We just need your help again. For $120, just $10 a month, we'll send you a Bill Press Show mug and a cup of coffee to show our appreciation. $240, $20 a month, the mug and a cup and a pound of coffee and a French press to go with it. Don't need anything else for your morning coffee except me. And then for $360 or $30 a month, the mug, the coffee, the French press, and you participating in our Voices of the People campaign, where you and I will do a little telephone call, talk about the issues of the day. We'll put all the calls together and play that tape on the air as part of our Voices of the People. And for those of you who are blessed enough and able to do it and generous enough, if you can come up with $1,000 for Free Speech TV and then make your way to Washington, Carol and I will take you out to dinner. We'll have a good night here on Capitol Hill, one of our great restaurants on the Hill, and then you can come in and watch the show the next morning with us and join the team. So let's get to that $2,000 today. Please, we really need your help. We got to get this thing moving here. Telephone number, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669. Or you can go to our website at freespeech.org, freespeech.org. This is it. Just a couple of times a year we come to you for your help. And that's the only way, again, that we keep free speech going. So please be as generous as you can. We wouldn't be here without you. We just want to keep this great partnership going. We'll do our share. You'll do your share. Let's get to that $2,000 today. Need your help, and thank you.
seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
We're talking homelessness and getting, they talk. The president says demean and destroy ISIS. We want to demean or degrade and destroy homelessness in this country. Nan Roman is with us from the National Alliance to End Homelessness, endhomelessness.org. What percentage are veterans?
The percentage is going down, and I don't know off the top of my head what it is, but there's been a huge push to end veteran homelessness. The Congress have been putting the money into that, and
Good.
the administration's been focusing on it. So that's down below 50,000 people for the first time.
Now, you've talked about, a couple of times you mentioned affordable housing. I mean, that's the real, in terms of if there's a role for the federal government, is to give money, put money up for affordable housing. Our stock of affordable housing has gone way down, and is there any support in Congress for increasing it?
I think this is the real rub, because whereas there has been a lot of bipartisan support, honestly, to do something about homelessness, not so much on affordable housing. And as I said, we're 7 million units short of affordable units for the number of households that need it. We're losing a couple of 100,000 units a year, and there's really not been very much interest in, there are a few champions, but in doing anything. Congress, where the HUD budget is going down.
I mean, you look at city after city, what they're doing is with the gentrification and older neighborhoods kind of coming back. I mean, the first thing they do is they get rid of the stock affordable housing.
That's right. Cities are not helping, and there's not a lot of incentive for cities to have affordable housing because it reduces their tax income. They also, these are big battles. There are a lot of not in my backyard, NIMBY battles.
Right.
Neighbors fight it, so they have to take on that. So we really need to rethink this, though, because housing, what we learn in the homeless system is the key role of housing as a platform for your kids to do well, to have a job, for health.
All the way around.
And,
Let's say a quick hello now to Pat out in Seattle, Washington. Hi, Pat.
Hi, I'm Kat, not Pat.
Kat. Sorry,
like
Kat.
Kat. But I just want to thank you for having this person on. She is speaking right on. I am a longtime activist with low-income people, and I have been homeless myself with children. This has been an issue since the 80s during Reaganomics, which severely impacted low-wage workers. And I just want to thank you, because a lot of what she's saying is right on. There are things that could be done around homelessness that would work if we weren't so punitive with the poor.
Yeah. Well, very good, Pat. It's so good to hear from you. And I, in turn, want to thank Nan for coming on. And it's just something I've always been concerned about, hadn't heard about for a long time, and wanted to see what's the latest. And it's delighted to know that there is some maybe light at the end of the tunnel. And now what can people do if they do care about this?
Well, I think, number one, as Kat mentioned, I think, people often do blame homeless people for their homelessness. And really, this is not their fault. We have these larger macroeconomic issues around housing and income. So, treat people as human beings and with compassion, and then support affordable housing and solutions in your community. People do need shelter, but at the end of the day, what they really need is a place to live.
Right. And that affordable housing can be mixed up in mixed housing projects and everything, which makes for a very vibrant community, as we've seen in parts here of Capitol Hill, where they've done that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
yes, so. It's right. It can be spread throughout, and we just need more of it.
You're doing the Lord's work. Thank you, Nan. Thank you so much for coming in. The National Alliance, again, you can find out more about their work at endhomelessness.org. I'll wrap things up with a parting shot when we come back. Great to see you. Thanks again.
Great. Thank you.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, President Obama made an important personnel announcement yesterday. It's just too bad he didn't make it several years ago. In announcing the resignation of Attorney General Eric Holder, which has been rumored for several months, President Obama finally parted ways with one of the least effective and, in my mind, most disappointing members of his administration. Obama and Holder first let us down by refusing to investigate possible war crimes committed by George Bush and Dick Cheney. Then Holder took a pass on war crimes we know were committed, failing to pursue CIA officers who engaged in torture, as well as Bush administration officials who gave them their orders. While CIA officers were getting off the hook, so were Wall Street executives who knowingly sold phony securities and put this country in a tailspin. None of them went to jail. Many of them are still on the job, making more money than ever before. Meanwhile, Attorney General Holder did pursue one group of Americans very aggressively, journalists, for doing their job but refusing to reveal their sources. Holder prosecuting more journalists than any other Attorney General in history. Yes, the office of Attorney General is one of the most powerful positions in the country. It's just too bad that Eric Holder didn't use his power to do more good on the job. That's my parting shot for today, folks. Now the weekend is yours. Make the most of it. Take advantage of it. Kick back. Recharge your batteries. You're going to have to, because we'll have a lot to talk about on Monday morning, and we'll be looking for you then.
This
Have a good
is
one.
the Bill Press Show.